the Galactic Soul, the Honorable Brother, the Revolutionary yourself, Darius Lockhart, and I'm here to tell you to watch Powerbombshells every Sunday at 1 p.m. Eastern on the Fight Game Media YouTube channel. That's right, every Sunday at 1 p.m., and that's on time, every time, because when we stand together, what time is it? That's right, it's nation time.
Welcome to Powerbombshells 155. I'm Mel. Yes. That is Sam. And thank God Darius sells that for us because we are never on time. Anytime.
Well, we have good reason today. Mel's computer was being rude and a bully and not wanting to cooperate. So I was just getting ready to tell. I was like, oh, you know what? I can tell the chat in here that we're having technical difficulties. And like literally as I was typing it, Mel's audio decided to cooperate. And then Nikki was even like, she texted me a text. She was like, do I need to tell the chat that there's some technical difficulties? And I was like, one of us will do it. I mean, between me and Nikki, but
it's like a group effort here at Powerbombshells. Well, everything. This is a community effort. Okay. It takes a village for really real.
And we were like, when I was on a ramble on Thursday with Collins, and Collins kept having tech issues, and like her camera froze twice, and then the audio kept messing up, and there were twice where like Collins disappeared, and it was just me, and I was like, "This is not my show." I mean,
it's the ghost of Skype. Skype is pissed off that they killed it, and it's haunting all the other
apparently. And so, luckily, they have producers that like kind of hang out in the background, and so the producers popped on to have to kind of help me out with the
nice. That's always nice.
So that was nice. And then it turns out we found out afterward. Well, we were joking that it was Tony Khan mad at us because we were complaining about ROH, but
cool.
He did it in the form of Windows was trying to do updates on her computer as the show was going on.
Oh my gosh, I can totally empathize with empathy for you, Collins. I get it. Microsoft is such a pain in the ass when it comes to everything. I mean, it just every time no matter what, you can't really turn off the updates. You can just push them off, but eventually it'll catch up to you, and it logs me off of everything.
Yeah.
And I have to, that's like part of the reason that I can now get on here better, is because like, it's like, we're tired of your stupid computer kicking you off.
Yes.
Brad, for those of you that are in the Discord, oh, hey.
Yes, as we always say, we're on Wizard time.
We are on Wizard time, yeah. And I'm wearing my meme. For those of you in the Discord, I am wearing my meme react hat today because, it's an oldie but a goodie. And sometimes you got to throw on the fun stuff for the
way back in here. We did have Fernando who showed up early and said, good afternoon. So thank you for that. Good afternoon to you. Thank you for being so patient for us to get here. And Brad, now that we were talking about your hat, Brad said that for your hat this week, if it was him, he'd wear his Dodgers hat with World Series passing on the pay-per-view tonight. But since Mel doesn't have one, I'm going to go with a spring bonnet. And Nikki would have liked to see you in a green bonnet.
It's not quite St. Patty's. I will get you guys next Sunday because that's the day before, essentially, because St. Patty's is on a Monday. So
right.
Our karaoke DJ was very excited that it fell on a Monday. Because that's our karaoke night, and a lot of us know a few Irish funny and other ditties, and so she was like, "Oh, please, I beg of you."
Perfect. Nikki says that you look cute and kind of elegant and kind of timeless.
Thank you. See, I mean, this is like our first pay-per-view that we ever covered together was Revolution. Mm-hmm. I was like, this is good. This works great. Part of it is that I cleaned my desk. And apparently my microphone was like TF.
Oh,
and
threw everything off.
And let's see if I can no, I'm not gonna do it. Yeah, Yorozuku Onegashimasu there. Yorozuku Onegashimasu, Brad. I'm practicing it. I listen. Now that I know, I will be able to pronounce it better than that. But that's we finally deciphered Chris Charlton's greeting on the New Japan shows. and it makes total sense. So now I'm good. It's like, yeah.
Well, good.
So, our Discord channels come to the rescue at the best times.
Good.
So
That's always good.
Brad and I were both wondering.
I haven't watched any of the Cup yet. I haven't had time. However, I did see.
You need to catch up.
I know that after night one, the official night one of the tournament, because I know it got postponed because of ring issues. All the ELP clips.
Oh my God, the joke.
ELP is a lucky boy. I will just say that. I did see that clip of him and he was kissing everybody apparently. So, but I did see that. Nikki doesn't know. I mean, it may come out, but I know my bracket got busted night one, and then Chris Samsa said that he said today. Hang on, I have it here. Let me find the tweet. I have it right here. Yeah, so he said after night one, just 32.4% of brackets remain perfect. And then 4 hours ago, he said after night two, just 12.5% of the brackets remain perfect. So I don't know what the hell they're doing over in Japan.
I'll be honest, I didn't check my bracket this morning, and I haven't been on socials much because I didn't want to see the outcomes of the matches for today because I knew I was going to watch tomorrow. So, but my first few days, I actually didn't do so badly. Like good. I'm not totally out of this thing. Actually.
I know. Well, the person, like one of my picks that I thought to go late. I mean, thought to go pretty far is got knocked out day one. But then I did see, even though I haven't seen any results, I did see something that happened involving a new member of a faction that was
from today.
Yeah.
Okay, don't tell me anything.
I'm not happy with it at all.
I've been really good. Like, I'm getting pretty good at having a filter for spoilers of my thing. It's like even on my Google page, which aggregates the funniest things, but it has no idea what to aggregate to me. It has no idea. I love the things that land on my Google page. You know, what's the Google Trends.
Right.
Oh my God, this thing, what it sends me. But anyway, I don't know where I was going with but the point, like my Google was telling me things. So anyway, back to what we were talking about.
Nikki said she saw it too and she hates it. Yeah. It is very unnecessary. This thing with the faction is, I'm very irritated by it. Even if it ends up not being a long thing, I'm still mad that it's even happening.
Yes, Yoroshiku Onegashimasu. I'm like, if you say it faster, it sounds better, and I'm getting better.
Hey, you're getting there. It's more than I can say.
Well, I'm using this time wisely right now. I got back on my Duolingo and I got back into, and I actually retained a little bit of what I learned a couple years ago because I was doing Duolingo and Pimsleur, so I was doing audio and that. What I like about what Duolingo does, and this because I know about a little bit about linguistics, is it's really good. They throw words that you learn in like a previous unit. They throw that into like if you learned a word in unit 1, they'll start like throw it into unit 3 that's about totally different stuff just to remind you of the word. And so to keep your memory working, it's a memory thing that they do. Right. It's a really great way of writing things into your brain. Because I mean, again, I like my whole career was child development, so like understanding how these things work, I'm like, oh, this is perfect. This is exactly how you would teach a kid how to learn. This is how kids learn languages.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, when babies are making noise, they're mimicking.
They use children's language books to like help them learn. Like they get activity books or like so that they can understand, like get their
learning language starts that way anyway.
Yeah.
And so
right.
That's the perfect way to do it because it's exactly the way you learn it. That's how, when babies are making noise, they're mimicking our intonations and all that crap. So it's just like, they really, that's a really cool platform. I'm not like, they didn't pay me. I'm not like, whatever. as a user, I appreciate it. And
yeah,
the funniest thing, I think they had to kill the owl for some reason.
yeah, I saw, because Nikki uses
So-
Duolingo too, and I saw that they killed it, but she said she guesses they brought it back because its little icon isn't dead anymore.
Well, okay, so the icon has gone through 3 phases. It's back to normal. It was totally dead. It had like the X out with the tongue sticking out, which is hilarious. I got a screen cap of it. Then it was like zombie owl or something. But then I think it was back to normal. And if you're in the app, it's not like the owl is freaky outy in the app. He's totally normal. He like does his thing in the app.
Weird.
He dances around and like he gives you accolades and he tells you you're doing
the point just to get people talking, or is there an actual?
I think there was something about the actual logo. I think there was an infringement case going on there.
Okay.
Because of course there is always some sort of
right.
Somebody's got to capitalize on that little owl face somewhere, or else America can't function.
Right.
As we all know.
Yes.
So
Brad
totally
says
reasonable.
that he watched the undercard of yesterday's New Japan show. He needs to catch up on cup matches because he's been all about Stardom's Cinderella tournament this weekend, and it's tournament season.
Yep, it is tournament season. That's so funny that you mentioned that. I was having that exact conversation with a friend this week.
Yeah, and then Daza says he's currently working on his James Bond movie ranking video, as there are only about 1,000 of them on YouTube, so one more won't hurt. Why not? Might as well. Look at how many wrestling podcasts there are, and here we are.
Yeah, right. Hey, there's a lot of people online, okay? We all have our little niche, our little blobs, and we have our little cells in the in the larger creature of the internet, right? I'm right there with you. I mean, I wouldn't rank the James Bond films. I have favorites, but I would be interested. That would be something I'm interested in. It's because we've been talking about, because James Bond got sold to and but what's weird about that is that it becomes its trademarks and everything finally wear off in 2027, so it'll be public domain as of 2027 regardless. That's like Mickey Mouse is actually
right. Yeah.
Fundamentally, he's finally they don't care because they have plenty of other media rights.
Yeah.
Anyway, this is not that show.
No, Brad says at least you actually talk about wrestling and you're not doing grifting BS about things you don't know about. That is true. And we don't scream and yell.
Well, I try to, there is
we don't,
plenty of that in this sphere.
There's plenty of it.
And
a lot of them are former wrestlers who do that shit.
Yeah, it's former wrestlers or people that worked in the business or whatever. It's regardless. If you need that in your world, just go hop on wrestling Twitter and click on the first 5 morons you see.
Right.
Fight me.
I don't think they'll have to. I think we all know.
I'm not going to do any boosting of people that are dorks. So
no,
it's just not our show. We like what we like, and we don't need to like poop on other people's stuff for fun. So we have a lot of fun enjoying what we enjoy, because wrestling is like right now, wrestling is very therapeutic for me. It's in a phase where I need my wrestling. Like part of the reason I'm like sort of caught up is like I'm going through things. I need my wrestling. I need it. Like I'm happy. This card today looks amazing.
Yeah.
I put together. It's so
excellent. Even though there are only 4 women and there are 36 men between 0 hour, not a single woman is on 0 hour. The card is stacked, and I am excited for this show. But also, Tony Khan, what the fuck are you doing?
Thank you.
It shouldn't even matter that it's Women's History Month, but on top of the fact that it's Women's History Month, yesterday was International Women's Day, and AEW tweeted out a little purple graphic to make sure they checked it off their list, which, at least they acknowledged it. But then they turned around and announced 4 men's matches for 0 hour. So happy International Women's Day, I guess.
Okay, so Sam sent me a graphic today for the Jericho match that I missed. Just somehow missed at Hollywood.
It happened there, and it was a video package. They were showing where because Jericho yelled at Brian Keith and Big Bill and were basically saying, you're not doing enough. Prove why you should be here. So they went and attacked on ROH. They went and they got involved in a match. And then Chris Jericho took the title and hit Bandito and hit Gravity in the no, it was Bandito, but Bandito and Gravity were in a tag match. He hit him in the face with it, and so they showed Bandito and Gravity reacting to it, and Gravity challenged him in Spanish, and Bandito translated, and he was like, "Are you sure you want to do this?" And Gravity was like, "Yes," and so he challenged him for Revolution.
Jeez.
Because only one ROH title can be defended on AEW programming, and of course it's Chris Jericho.
Yeah,
but they did randomly put Blake Christian and Lee Johnson are in a random tag match on 0 Hour, which the match will probably be great, and I like both of them very much, but it's unnecessary when you could book Harley Cameron, Willow.
Well, I mean, so I missed that part, and I already put together, and there were already the 12 matches that Tony tends towards. That's like his average is 12. Because like when I was putting it together, I was like, okay, I only have 6 or 8, so I need a few more. And
right.
And then you sent me that one, and my reaction was, because we can't have a pay-per-view without Chris Jericho on it. Not a single effing one.
It's very rare that he misses pay-per-views. He's missed they didn't book him for I think it was World's End or something. There's been 2 or 3 pay-per-views in the last year that they haven't booked him on, but it's rare.
Julia Hart, I was talking about her this morning, is not on this card. How hot she is, how great she is. That she's not quite there, but she's coming around and she's got a good following and she's popular. Mm-hmm. She's not on this card. No. Megan Bain's not on this card.
Well, I'm not surprised about that because I think they're holding her off. I feel like they'll use her for Double or Nothing.
How about Deanna Prazo that they put on there?
I guess Deanna. Well, the story is remember I guess it was 2 weeks ago. Deanna went home after the match, and Taya and Lady Frost were a tag team in CMLL on Friday. And I guess if they're still in Mexico, maybe they didn't want to do Deanna without Taya. That's the only thing that I can think of. And maybe but it may be playing into the Deanna leaving storyline. Maybe there's a reason. I don't know for sure. Could just be lazy booking. But I don't know if for them specifically, I don't know if that's why. It's because Taya was not going to be there, and because of their story, they didn't want to do with it. I don't know.
But Willow and Chris Statlander are still on the roster, right?
Well, Willow just murdered Marina, so maybe that's why she's not on here. Or maybe she comes out later. She might get involved if Marina somehow shows up during Mox's match. I wouldn't be surprised if Willow shows up for that. Also, there is we can bring it up now. I have heard, I saw a friend sent me a tweet from hang on, where is it at? Wrong text message. From Second Wrestling, which is based in Chicago. Billy Starks has been pulled for contractual obligations. So it is possible that we see her after Mercedes' match, or maybe before Mercedes' match, because they've been doing that story.
She got pulled from an indie show to come.
Yes, in Chicago because of contractual obligations. It sounds like we may possibly see Billy. Okay, thank you. Willow great. Heading to Japan for TJPW. I forgot that she was going.
She's going to be on TJPW on 3. Thank you. Yay. I will remember that.
I had forgotten about that.
I'm going to watch that show then.
Is Billy finally AEW proper? I don't think so. I think they're using her to build this story with Athena because Mercedes and Athena were still trash talking each other on Twitter the last couple of days over Billy. So I don't think. Well, I think that's part of it is that they're being booked out because the AEW is not using them, but also I mean, some of them I think just want to do indies, but I think that is also definitely part of it. Maria says, I love wrestling, but I think AEW's pay-per-views are a little too long.
This one seems a little, I was going to say that this one particularly, because of some of these like late editions, seems a little overbooked to me right now.
Sorry, Maria, I did not mean to scare you. Billy has not decided to leave. As far as I know.
No.
Oh, that's there will not be any rioting in my house if John Moxley retains. But if you do, that you do you.
We all have our own opinions on this.
It's so weird to see Momo being used as a face here against Mercedes when she's a big heel as part of Hate and Stardom. Yeah, that is kind of interesting that they're doing that, but I guess they just wanted to get in that rematch from last year, and so that's why. But yeah, I've seen that too, that people are like, it's weird seeing her in this role. And it was funny because last night Mercedes was on commentary for Momo, and she was like, oh hell no, she ain't doing that to me. Why is she doing that? She better not try that on me. Like, it was really Mercedes was like, she's like, I'm not, none of this is happening. Hi Hassan.
Oh my gosh, you guys are so cute. Oh, welcome to everyone in the chat. It's good to have you.
And actually, I guess before we get started going down this card, we are, first of all, we want to say thank you to those who have been able to do the super chats and help us. We did make our initial goal to do the sponsorship for Wrestling Winedown during Wrestlemania weekend. She is, if you have missed it, Lo from Wrestling Winedown is hosting a not a conference, but a what's the word?
Networking.
Thank you, a networking event during Wrestlemania weekend. It's invite only. It's for women in wrestling, and she had a sponsorship opportunity, and so we have decided to use any super chats we received to go towards this. And last week we made the initial goal, which is huge, and thank you so much to the people who did donate to make that happen. We do still have some time. We have until March 17th. The next goal would be 250. We're currently at, I think, 105, I think.
It's 105. I've got my tally here. It's 105.
So it is a bit of a stretch to get to 250, but if we do, then obviously we'll go for the next one. But you're more than welcome to, if you want to, please feel free to use the super chat. If not, obviously we love you the same. It's okay. But we just wanted to let you know that we did reach that goal. But we are, if we can make it into, who knows what happens in 2 weeks. If not, we got our first goal, and we're really happy about that. We're really excited to be, this is a really cool opportunity for us. And it's a way to support another woman in wrestling as well, which is something we're very excited about. So thank you for that.
Yeah, it's totally cool. We love Lo so much, and we love you guys for getting us to that spot. And for those of you who are into like Kickstarters like I am, just think of it as like a stretch goal. If we make it, we make it. If we don't, we don't. And that's, we're already going to be getting our representation. It just tacks on a few extra, spiffs for us if we do it. You get a couple more shout outs and a couple more this and that. So, hey, like Sam said, two extra Sundays, maybe some comments. Who knows? You can tip in the comments, I believe, if you're rewatching this on the rewatch.
Yes, you can.
So there's a little dollar button, I believe, and you just throw a couple bucks at us if you want to. If you can't, we totally understand. As the meme says, in this economy,
right.
Very much. But
Robert says that too many matches for the pay-per-view. Okada versus King should have been saved for the TV. I get it, but I think this card is stacked, and I'm really, really looking forward to it. But I think
we can talk about it when we go through it a little more, because we'll maybe like hash it out. I do think there's a combination of things, because there's so many of the matches have things around them. They're not just, there's singles matches going on, but then there's a cage match, and there's a Hollywood ending match, and there's matches with potential for outside interference or introductions of new talent, where Josh Alexander is out there, Speedball is out there. I mean, Jack Perry has been mentioned as. Well, I mean, I'll get to the match.
I've had my thoughts about Jack Perry that I've been saving for this show, and that's why I've not brought it up.
And I'm saving it for the match that I think is the highest potential for a Jack Perry sighting. So we'll talk about it when we get there.
As I said, they could have just had Momo as her heel persona and have it be a heel versus heel. Momo does it so well. Yeah, that's interesting.
Sometimes heel versus heel is fun. I was actually thinking about that. It's so funny that because I was kind of in my mind having I was like fantasy booking heel versus heel matches that would actually work, and they do, like, because it's like sometimes it does work, because this whole thing with the WWE discussion about, like, it's, I mean, if you're listening to a podcast about wrestling, it gets mixed in, and so I'm hearing about all the Cena stuff and WrestleMania season and so forth. So it's like interesting because it's like, what happens when a heel fights a heel? And I'm like, guys, it's happened before. It's awesome. It can be awesome.
It can be, depending on how
it's properly booked and the story's told right. You can have heel versus heel. Plenty of times.
Agreed.
Go watch some wrestling.
And Hassan says, I would have preferred to have Hangman versus MJF as the number one contender match, with all due respect to Ricochet and Swerve. I get it. I can. And again, I love Ricochet too. I mean, Swerve too, and the story that they're telling is really great. But yeah, it's kind of interesting why they went with those two instead of these two, but maybe it's because they're doing the story a little bit longer with MJF and Hangman. Hassan said, I don't watch Stardom, but when they showed up on ROH, I like Saya Kamatani and Momo. AEW should sign them. Yeah, I've really enjoyed ROH using Stardom wrestlers and using CMLL wrestlers. It's a lot of fun to get exposure to either wrestlers I've never seen before, maybe never even heard of, or I've only seen their names, but I've never seen them wrestle before. And I'm really enjoying ROH doing that. Like last week, their main event was 6 men from CMLL. But it was a lot of fun. There was like not an ROH person in it, but it was a lot of fun.
I know they've been doing a lot of lucha because it's going to be in Southern California, especially. So that's been like something. But they've also been building the lucha. AEW has the relationship with New Japan, which has Stardom, and then they also have, the CMLL, AAA sort of I mean, that's such a whole other thing that they have beef with each other. So Tony has to tread lightly there, but it's great. I think that this has been this hybrid, like, look at all these cool different ways that you can wrestle thing has been a lot of fun, and are really, in spite of the big tanking of numbers this week, I hope that it's like, I don't know, this is the stuff that I like. Like, this is more booked like a New Japan show than, I mean, this is what I like. I like this more. Is way up. This is why I'm an AEW watcher and not another kind of wrestling watcher. So and New Japan is probably my A1.
Right.
But they're back. Sorry, they're back in first place. It's absolutely amazing.
I know. I really have got to. Hopefully, we'll find some time.
I don't want to spoil anything for you, but Walker Stewart is an amazing, amazing, amazing announcer, and he is really like. I'm like, this kid's like, what, 22 years old or something?
So.
And Sam, when you watch those shows, especially watch the anniversary show, even if you just watch like the beginning and the first few, because Chris Shelton coming back to the desk.
Yeah, I heard he came back to the anniversary show. I knew he would be back for or like right around this time. So I heard he was back.
And he looks like first of all, he looks like he's been in exile, which is the best part about it. But
even better.
Jeremy Feinstone from Speaking of Strong Style back in our Discord at one point was like, Walker's just going to give out to him about it for a few months and it'll be fine. And he was spot on, and it's been fantastic. That's all I'll say.
I can't wait.
Well, I am so like, Walker's on a different level from all the other broadcasters right now. And it's so crazy.
Incredible.
I mean,
especially because he's had to do so many things on the fly or like on the road and like by himself. He really has.
He's prepared.
Like, he was already really good, but I feel like because he had to do some of this without Chris, he really had to step up and let his person, because I mean, he already has a great personality as it is. And he and Chris complement each other so well. but even by himself, or when he's had to bring in wrestlers to help him out, like he's been, I can't say enough good things about Walker Stewart. I think he's phenomenal.
Yeah, that's the stretch of the tournament where I'm on now, is that he's out of Tokyo, so Tokyo Prefecture. So he's now got, like, I think TJP is going to be his first. I watched the introduction this morning, and then I watched it. I missed that there was a Grand Hamada, and I keep forgetting the other wrestler's name, but tribute at the beginning of the anniversary show that I had missed, so I went back and rewatched.
Oh, okay.
Like, oh, it's really sweet.
Nice.
They did Tendo, and
yeah,
nobody does. I mean, Tony did that great tribute show for Bodhi, but nobody does tribute shows quite like Japan does. I feel like that anniversary show is one of the like shows that I fell in love with, like Jay White and Will Ospreay on, with some of their matches together. Was like the first anniversary show I saw where I went, holy crap, I totally understand wrestling because of these two guys now. Like they had a whole like mind blown moment. So the anniversary show has never let me down. I think in like 6-7 years, I've always enjoyed them. And killing it right now. Yeah. Very New Jersey. Poresu.
Yes. I'll get to some. We got a lot of comments over here, so I want to get to them. So first of all, Ray, thank you for being here. Hello, greetings and salutations to you as well.
He's got the dead owl. He had the dead owl as his happy. Nice job.
Daza said, I always think the champ should defend their title against both heels and faces, no matter who they personally are. Yes.
Agree.
Brad says that they did Ricochet and Swerve for the number one contender, or he likes that they did that because it gave Ricochet a reason to accept the rematch after beating Swerve. Yeah, because he was totally against it until they're like, we'll make it a number one contender. And he's like, all right, twist my arm. Daza said, you get faces and heels versus heels in the round robin tournament AEW has every year. Yeah, exactly. Brad said that's what I love about Japanese wrestling. You'll get heels versus heels and faces versus faces all the time. Whatever the story calls for happens. Agreed. And then Jermaine said last night Collision was awesome for one match. Probably the best women's match they had on Collision in a while was Momo versus Serena. Serena D, both women worked stiff and was awesome. Yeah, that was a really.
Who I forgot. See, I left her off my list, even though I put her in our messaging.
Serena is good at. They're doing. Serena had not last night in Collision, but last week Serena challenged Queen Aminata for the first ever women's pure match, and so I'm assuming that's going to be a TV.
Oh, that's
thing.
Right.
Yeah, I assume that's going to be a TV thing.
Oh, you think it's going to be on TV and not?
Maybe.
You don't think it'll be on our card, the super card?
She doesn't.
That's gonna be a thing still, right? That's WrestleMania.
I mean, it should, but Aminata hasn't been on. Well, no, it's been a few weeks since she's been on there, but Deeb doesn't come down. She's rarely on there. I mean, maybe they do. They could do it for Honor Club. Maybe they save it. Maybe it's possible they save it for Supercard, but Supercard is not. First of all, there's been if they are doing it Mania weekend, Mania is not till the end till like April 20 something.
So it's late this year.
Yeah, and then there's been rumors that ROH is not doing Supercard that weekend, but I've not heard one way or another if that's true. So we're a ways away from that.
Yeah.
If they're gonna do it, unless they do it on TV and then do a rematch, maybe. At Supercard. I don't know, because they announced it pretty early. Yeah, Collision was very promo heavy, but it's because I think it's just because it was the go home show.
It was a go home show for tomorrow.
It was a lot because I was having to keep up with promos.
Right, you cover
I mean, I luckily for most things I was just summarizing it instead of putting like word for word in there. I mean, I did get like an exact John Moxley quote because it was where you talk about ripping out Cope's spinal column and hearing it cracking and breaking and popping and reverberating in his skull. That's when he'll respect him. So like that I had to put in there, but there are a lot. So that meant I had to like really pay attention to what they were saying.
When that man uses adjectives, he does it with such flair that you absolutely have to record every.
And it's funny that he said that after Cope said earlier in the night that he has a bunch of word salad diatribes, and then he's like, okay,
well, hold my beer.
Right. Fine. If you don't like that, I will just come out and say it.
I'm gonna own that.
I don't respect you. I don't like you. But if I get my hands on you and rip out your spinal column, then I will respect you. And only then. Thank you. I just want Powerbombshells to take on AEW for having 2 women's matches on the card this pay-per-view. I am so...
The worst part of that whole situation when Sam dropped that graphic on me was when she told me that number was 36-4. 36
Thank
to
you.
4.
Shout out to Miss Peacockery on Twitter and Blue Sky. She keeps up with a lot of she does a lot of really great work regarding women in wrestling. And just
she's another one of us like stopwatch people.
She doesn't stopwatch, but she she does cover she does also a lot of like the WWE Vault stuff. She keeps up with that type of stuff. She has a lot of really cool content. She just started a Substack like 2 weeks ago.
Oh, right on. Smart.
And so she has a ton of content, a ton of information. She's really cool. She does a lot of cool work.
We should her on our tweeters and
she has
butterfly her.
She has a yes, we should re-butterfly her. She has which I did retweet her stats last night and repost it on the.
What do you call that? Like fluttering?
Because she has like a breakdown. So but she was telling me today that this is the second lowest number of women on a Revolution card ever. Typically,
awesome.
a couple of times they've gotten 3, and a few times they've gotten 6 women. But then, for whatever reason, this year, when it's arguably at its best with its best women, we're getting 4 women. That's it.
This is it's a crying shame too, because some of these guys have worked pretty hard.
Yeah,
they pull that that Chris Jericho at last minute, like 11th hour Chris Jericho ad is.
No, and somebody said they were
a real kick in the butt
because I think it was Jermaine said because Gravity is so green.
I
think that's part of the reason he went away was to get better.
I don't not like Gravity. It's not Gravity's fault.
No, but what I was gonna say is he's only had 2 matches since he's been back. No, 1 match, and he was in a tag match with his brother, which is Bandito. Right. And so obviously they can work well together, and Bandito can kind of cover things. So the fact that it's on, so I'm not surprised. I guess in that sense, I'm not surprised it's on 0 hour because you're not going to put Gravity on the main card. But the fact that he's just came back to ROH and they're already giving him a pay-per-view match, I'm wondering if this is going to be some kind of a weird squash thing, or I assume Bandito's getting involved. Probably the rest of the learning tree. It may not even have a finish. I wouldn't be surprised if there's just shenanigans and it ends up being like a no contest, which you could just, if you're going to do that and you're not going to do it on Honor Club, then do it on Collision.
Yeah, right.
Don't do it even on a 0 hour type of thing. That's crazy. Oh, that's an interesting theory. Jermaine says that he believes after tonight, Billy will be Mercedes' next opponent. But he has a hunch we get a lot of interference tonight between Momo and Mercedes. Well, I don't know if you were here when I was talking about it, but Billy has been pulled from the independent show that she was on for contractual obligations. So it sounds like if she's not going to be physically involved, there's probably going to be some more confrontation between her and Mercedes. But because she's been pulled, makes me wonder if perhaps she is going to get involved. And we'll talk a bit more about that when we get to the match itself. Lauren says people need to put a respect on Serena Deeb's name. She can wrestle. They just need to pair her with people who can wrestle instead of asking her to carry people like Anna Jay, Julia, and Harley. I have thoughts about her, but I mean, as for a strictly wrestling perspective, they probably should use her more often. But considering who her significant other is, I think that's a lot of the reason people do not care for her and do not want to put respect on her because of who her significant other is.
I don't know. So
it's Marty Skrull.
Oh, okay.
She's been with they've been together for like 5 years, and apparently they're like about to get married.
Good for them.
So I think that's a lot of the reason people don't want anything to do with her.
I mean, I get it, and it sucks but I don't know. I guess actions have consequences, I guess, like real world, like whatever you, I mean, how you act in life is how you act in life, and depending on what a company thinks or doesn't think is how they, I mean, whatever value system exists, I guess, in that, but that's a choice, I guess. I mean, I'm not going to judge anybody on anything, but
I think that's a lot. I think that's.
But Marty Skrull, I will judge Marty Skrull. He's a piece of crap.
I will 100%. Right, but and she's been with
trash human. I mean, let's be real.
He's awful, and he keeps trying to worm his way back.
I know. He keeps getting like he keeps trying to get booked on stuff, and I'm like, don't do it, please.
Yeah,
I don't care. I just no. Some people are a hard no for me.
Yeah. Oh, he's absolutely a hard
garbage.
And I was like, in 2025, he hasn't wrestled in America in 10 years? Maybe not 10. Maybe like 6 years. But he hasn't wrestled. Maybe it's even been less than that. It just feels like an eternity. Maybe it probably has been less than that. It feels like it's been an eternity. But I think American wrestling has evolved past the point of needing Marty Skrull.
Just don't unseat WWE's consistent 25-year history of having the worst wrestling booking tactic in the Wrestling Observer Awards at the end of the year is what I'm kind of
they tried. New Japan Strong tried to bring him a couple years ago because Rocky booked him.
I remember.
And then when they were taping, they did a taping with him, and when it came out that he was involved, fans rightfully got very upset with New Japan for doing it, and got upset with Rocky because Rocky is the one who brought him in, and the matches never aired. So that tells you how people, and they still feel that way because every time he gets booked, because he's been booked at there's a couple of indie places in North America, in the US, who have booked him, and every single time they get called out for it. So that's kind of where we are with him and Hassan.
No, Hassan, you should not look.
Well, Brad is filling him in on the very basics, but yes.
I mean, you can't unsee it, but I mean, awareness, it's just.
And it's like Marty is somebody I was a really big fan of.
Yeah, no, it hurts my heart.
So speaking out definitely, it definitely affected people that I enjoyed. I mean,
this is like a Tessa Blanchard situation.
Like
for me.
I met him, had his merch. Like it's that type of a situation. So it's
actually it's probably worse because it hurts my heart to find out that that's the truth. But there's plenty of people that I don't watch and buy, and I mean, even when we were talking about, Kathy has wrapped up her Lord of the Rings series, is next, and a lot of people would say Harry Potter, but there's issues there for some people, and I totally get that. And so it's yes,
right.
The only thing we get to vote with anymore is our wallets. So, and then you get to, that's your choice. And I make your choices. But in terms of Marty, as a wrestling fan, I would literally, if they booked Marty Skrull on tonight's Revolution, I'd probably find another way to watch it, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, right.
And I'd skip through that part.
Right. Yeah. So I mean, and I don't think that's happening, even though he was.
But you get where I'm going.
Yeah, that's the thing. He was, and some say, he was really close to the elite. Some say that members are still friends with him in real life, but I think that they know what would happen if they brought him in, and what kind of reaction they would get if that happened. So I don't think it would happen. Even with
leave the past in the past. It's probably the best place to stand on that guy.
Yeah.
Whose name I've already said too many times.
Brad said, I have a Daryl doll that I had the Bucks, Cody, and Kenny Son, and Marty is on there, and I hate it so much. Yeah, I have one of their, and I have a picture with Marty. I have his autograph. So I've been trying. It's like, I forget that I have it because it's just in a pile of things. I've debated on just putting it up on eBay and seeing if somebody would buy it and then donating the money maybe, but I don't know if people, I'm sure there is some Marty Squirrel fan out there who still supports him who would probably buy
You
it.
should do it before the 17th. See if you can sell it. We can put it towards a women's network.
That's true. That is true. And then I have but I have a shirt from back when they were doing the boy band thing and on BTE. Yes, thank you, Nikki. Exactly. It's like the Too Sweet for You boy band shirt. Yeah, it's great because they're in all white because it was a BTE bit and Marty is in it. There's no way to get around it, so I don't wear that shirt. It's I keep it because I have to switch my clothes out every season, and so it just stays in the plastic bag in there with that stuff because I don't know what I'm gonna do with it. I mean, that might be something that might get sold too. Maybe somebody would buy that.
Times are tough right now, and there's always, I mean, things are worth whatever someone will pay for them when it comes to collectibles like that.
Fair.
But
that's true. I might just do it. Maybe I'll just do
your
a
eBay account is up to some good standing. I mean, this is hilarious. You ready for this? Here's a quick sidebar because we just mentioned it. Is that my eBay account is as old as eBay? I signed up for
my
eBay.
account's really old too. Mine's probably about as old as yours, most likely.
But I signed up for it in when it came online, and I remember in the early years being real. I did a lot of. I got away with a lot of stuff for my wedding on eBay back in the day.
Nice.
In the aughts when we
there you go.
When all you wee kids were born. I was getting married. No, I'm kidding. But yeah, I mean, because eBay. I mean, I was good at it. It was something
Yeah, maybe I'll make
a dork out on online role playing games. Like you get auction houses. eBay works very similar to so it's a real live version of what we do in gaming, and so it's just oh, I can do this. I'm a dork. I can save hundreds and thousands of dollars on my party favors that I have to give out to my guests.
Yes, exactly. There you go. That makes sense.
eBay.
Maybe I'll make a Marty Squirrel bundle and just get rid of all of it at one time. I'll just do it because I know they call it a lot. Like when it's books, they call it a lot. So because I bought a lot, not a lot, but a lot of books before. So maybe I'll do a lot of my Marty. And it's not that it's not like a huge thing, but there's a couple T-shirts. I think an autograph picture, and I think a calendar from 20.
I mean, as long as they're lightly used or unused, you can.
They're unused. They're in because I got it and I was like, what the hell? Oh, thank you.
Aww.
Dre says with the tease of Billy and Monet, it would have made sense to use Billy in a 0 hour match, but the ROH women are booked like they're in another universe. Dre, I think they have to take a spaceship because they're so far in another universe, except for Chris Jericho.
Don't do that to me.
Correct, except Chris Jericho, who somehow can easily get between worlds. Billy escaped to do backstage segments, and then they put her back. They were like, "No, back to wrestling." Wait, who did she wrestled? An independent wrestler named Milo is who she wrestled on Thursday. She had a 5-minute match. And we were talking about how, she was the first ever, Collins and I were talking about this, how she was the first ever women's TV champion, lost the title in her first defense, and then hasn't even, attempted to, get it back to have a rematch. It's like she doesn't, they have made her not care. She's not tried to come for Red Velvet at all. I was like, does she even care that she was champion? It's very weird. But yeah, I would have. Billy being on the 0 hour would have made a ton of sense. But then again, it makes too much sense, and we're not going to do that.
Pull them in than a pay-per-view this heavy can handle. Apparently,
yes.
Thank you very much, Dre.
Yes, thank you.
We greatly appreciate it. More money towards our stretch goal here.
Yeah, we appreciate it. Thank you.
And I do agree with you, Maria. I think it's not fair to judge someone because of their relationship.
But also her partner, what her partner has done.
Well, no, I think
her partner has done, and you're staying with someone.
But beyond that, I think that the idea is it isn't fair to judge someone based on who they're with. But people are going to judge people based on who they're with if they know they're with someone that
I can understand where the judgment comes from when your partner has admitted to the things that he has admitted to, and she has chosen to stay with him too. So I can understand the judgment
absolutely
there, whether it's right or wrong.
Where I think there are, as democratically as we can talk about this, is that, you know, this is something that, I mean, this goes all the way back to the Briscoes and the things that went on with that, and it essentially took Jade dying, sadly, in a way, to get Mark on the TV, and that's kind of the only reason. And you know, it's and I know I'm conflating issues a little there because those are separate, but not. I mean, people are going to continue to yeah, I don't want to get too into the weeds with this one.
No, I think we are.
But
I think enough time talking about Marty's Girl on this podcast.
It's a point that is valid, that it is not fair, but it is going to happen. Is reality, in my opinion. Just one girl's opinion. I just wanted to acknowledge that is something that.
And I think, and with that, I think we can move on from the Marty conversation.
Yeah, I think we're gonna move on.
We've already given
enough
time talking about Marty's Girl.
Yeah, more time than I ever would want to give.
Yes. And so Hassan says that Red Velvet holds the TV title and is never mentioned, let alone getting a match. I mean, and that, yeah, they don't. Unless they compete on AEW television, ROH titles don't really show anything. Oh yes, and Brad, yes, Lee Moriarty and STP bounce back and forth now too. Yes, Lee Moriarty versus Daniel Garcia in the main event of Collision last night was phenomenal.
Yeah,
and if there's anything that you watch from last night, besides Diva and Momo, because that was a really good match, then I would say watch this one because it was really good. And I hope that Tony will do what I ask and put the gold on all of STP at the same time.
That'd be fun.
Please. I need it.
I like that idea. I'm with that big time.
I want them all dripping in gold, please. Maria says, this is a little off topic. Can you see Jeff Cobb sign full-time with AEW sometime in the future?
He's technically signed with them because he's gotten the graphic, but they don't book him much on AEW.
I forgot about the graphic.
Yeah, he got a graphic. But as a ginormous, huge Jeff Cobb supporter, I'm follow him pretty well. He got a graphic back. It's been
about that
forever.
Yeah, I mean,
it was during COVID, I think.
Yeah. Has his deal already up? Is that why?
I don't know.
Was it just like a 1 year thing? Because they don't book him often. I mean, clearly New
Jeff
Japan
Cobb should be on everybody's TV. I think that Jeff Cobb is an amazing wrestler. That dude how that dude does those moonsaults and those freaking moves, those spots, I just don't even know. He's just as fun when he does when he sits co-pilot with Walker on the microphone. Jeff is the full package. He's the whole thing. He's got Jeff it all.
Incredible. I'm a huge Jeff Cobb fan. But depends on how Japan is going to use New Japan's going to use him, because right now he's in the cup.
He is in the cup.
Unless he's already been eliminated.
Don't tell.
Unless I haven't seen it, but he has been booked. I will say he was been booked for the tournament. I expect if he re-signs, I expect he'd be in the G1 because he typically is. So I guess it kind of depends on what their plans for him are, and maybe the cup is his. Maybe he's doing the cup and he's not, and then that's it. And maybe he hasn't signed, because as far as I know, I don't think he has re-signed yet. But I don't know. My assumption was that he had re-signed because they put him. He's been booked pretty much all year. So I had thought, but I don't know for sure that that's been confirmed. I would love to see him if that's what he wants. I'd love to see him in AEW. However, I love him in New Japan too. So wherever he goes, I will watch.
I mean, he is like, he technically got a graphic some time ago, but if they can use him and they're not using him, they should be using him. That's always going to be my opinion, though. I mean, it's like book Jeff Cobb.
Yeah. Like Brad says, unless he wants to live in America full time, I can't see Jeff leaving New Japan. It's always been his dream and he loves it there. Yeah. Runs kind of Zach. Vinken, yes, New Japan did turn into a talk show because the ring broke. I've heard it was funny. I haven't. I've been too busy to get to it. I want to see it. I mean,
I saw a lot of the chatter about it.
I did see the clip of the segment with ELP and Despy and Tana. And I think the clip that I saw cut off right when they got to Jado, I think. But I did see that segment that was going around. I have not seen Queen of the Ring yet. I have heard some mixed reviews. I saw one review said it was awful. The writing was terrible. But then I've seen a couple other ones say that it was really good. So it's kind of a mixed bag. And regardless of what people like, regardless of that, I would probably see it anyway. I'm not somebody who really goes to the theater anymore to see things. So I would probably watch it when it's available where I can watch it at home, most likely. But I do really want to see it.
People that I trust seem to say that it is good and that a non-wrestling fan could enjoy it. So that was what I've heard. I have
That's
not
always
seen
good.
But people like Jim Valley and Garrett both felt.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I know Garrett went to see it yesterday and was supposed to be talking about it last night.
And he kind of gave us a little tease and said that that was sort of the tease was that it was enjoyable and that a non-wrestling fan could enjoy it as well, which is always good in my opinion.
Yeah.
It makes it accessible.
Variety covered it, Variety did an interview with Tony Storm about both the movie and a little bit about what would happen with Mariah on the red carpet, which we'll get to that because we are actually going to preview the show. I'm going to read this comment from Lauren and then we're going to go ahead and get into it because we've been on for almost an hour and have not. I mean, we've talked about some of the matches, but we haven't gone down the card.
We're talking to our friends in the chat and we love them, so it's okay.
Yes, we do. Lauren, thank you again. Thoughts on AEW allowing contracts of Layla Hirsch and maybe Abaddon expire at a time where they should be signing more women? That is a really good question. Layla is somebody who, when she is healthy, she is really strong. Originally, when they had Blackpool Combat Club and before Brian Danielson was a He-Man woman hater and said that women weren't allowed, I wanted Layla to be in. I thought Layla would be a good fit because it's that style. Like if they were adding, because that's when they were that's when they were doing stuff with Young Wheeler and also Daniel Garcia, when they were trying to get Daniel Garcia away from Chris Jericho and they were using him. I was like, man, Layla would be a really good fit if they were going to add a woman because of the style of wrestling that she does. She had a really great, was it a Texas death match that she did with Diamante?
I think so.
2 months ago.
It was some kind of like, I don't want to say gimmick match, but it was a special feature match.
But it was, was it technically a Texas death match?
I think it was a Texas death match because
it was really good. I thought Layla, but they both got injured in it.
Right.
And that kind of hurt Layla. Not hurt, well, obviously physically, but also booking wise, it seemed to hurt her. And Diamante actually popped up on TV. She seems to be about to challenge Athena, or getting close to it. They teased something on Thursday, which I'm really excited between that because I really like Diamante a lot. So it is very unfortunate that Layla and Abaddon were not kept. I think they just used Abaddon just had a match like 3 or 4 episodes ago. They didn't use Abaddon as much as they should have. But I enjoyed Abaddon. I enjoyed their character. I enjoyed the work that they did. I think Abaddon's been working working at Dustin Rhodes' wrestling academy. And so they've been doing a lot of work. And so I was really bummed to hear that Layla too. I was really bummed to hear that both of them did not have their contracts renewed.
I'd love to see Abaddon is in TJPW. I think Abaddon could really, really spread their wings in TJPW.
I feel like Abaddon
maybe they have.
I'm sure Brad can, or somebody who watches TJPW often can confirm.
Maybe some of the for the culture events that happened, because that seems like a great place.
Yeah.
very similar to like a DDT, but women. So it's
Yeah,
more like,
right.
but it isn't all at the same time because it's like it's a hybrid of New Japan and DDT a little bit. So.
Right. And then you also have like, and Max the Impaler is it TJPW or DDT Pro that uses Max and Palm? I can't remember. But one of those two. But yeah, I would love it. I'm very disappointed that they were not kept. And I understand that you can't keep everybody. I get it. Especially when you have a bloated roster. But I also hate anybody losing their jobs. And I know their contract did expire, and they weren't like released, but still it sucks. And I hate that for them. TJPW is thank you. Okay. I couldn't remember.
So it
and
has
Laurent's
happened.
Other comment, is it going to come up here? Okay. Does anyone else think it's interesting that AEW is promoting Queen of the Ring, but not mentioning Camille, who has a prominent role in it? Yeah. It is interesting. It is interesting.
I love it. I think we all know how Sam feels. I mean, Sam sometimes we just know.
I don't know what is going on with the Camille situation at AEW. I don't know if it is because of her performance and she just wasn't meshing with Mercedes and whatever, because some of that stuff with Camille was really rough. But I mean, again, you have to let them keep working. But yeah, I don't know if there's more to the story or if, as far as I know, Camille's like not dealing with an injury or anything. And Camille has been like on the red carpet, like we saw in the one of the clips where Mariah attacks Tony. You can see Camille, and they are like Mercedes was at their premiere, Athena was at their premiere, and they're retweeting their photos. They're retweeting Anthony Bowens and Swerve and stuff like that. But it is interesting. So I don't know if something has happened, and that's why they're not mentioning her. But it is certainly interesting. I just don't know exactly what is happening with it, because whatever is going on with her, they seem to have kept a very tight lid on, or maybe I really have no idea what's going on in the situation, because it's because there's somebody that they really wanted to bring in and they put her in a prominent spot, and now she's just not there. And I don't know what's happening with that. And like you said, they've been doing all this Queen of the Ring promotion, but she's not the one that is getting any type of, or at least on AEW.
Well, she's not. I mean, this is the thing. Okay, from a strictly like business Tony is on the card this weekend. Camille isn't. Like, it's just when it comes down to brass tacks, when the bottom line is the bottom line, it's that they're promoting Tony because Tony's on the card this weekend. They're not promoting that Camille's in it. Now, if they don't start promoting her, stay on Dynamite next week, then they should be promoting all of their women that are in it, because why would you not? It's a Hollywood thing. It's going to get people to be interested in some way. But I think in this case, it's those short-sighted, and that AEW can be short-sighted when it comes to marketing, as we've talked about many times. Mm-hmm. I think that they are focused.
When we get to that women's match.
But I think that unfortunately the focus has been so hyper-focused on Tony that they're just...
It's because Tony's the champion, too.
And there's that, too. So
I think that has a lot.
I'm not saying it's right.
No, I think there's a lot of it. Tony is the champion.
But I think that advertisers are going to buy Tony.
Because of Tony's character, too. You can't have... Tony's character is a Hollywood actress.
Right.
She's in a film. Of course they're going to talk about it. That doesn't mean that they should not talk about Camille, but Tony's going to get the spotlight because she's a champion, and this is her gimmick, is old Hollywood. Laurent says the women's roster is not bloated. No, it isn't. But I think overall the roster is bloated, and you're bringing in Josh Alexander and Speedball too. So they're probably having to make room for that. But they also kind of already made room for that when they released Miro and Ricky Starks and
Aleister Black.
Alistair, yes.
Whatever.
So they already kind of made that room. But I get it. Like, you can't keep everybody, and then, Brad says it's not always Tony that doesn't want to resign. Sometimes people just don't want to resign, which is true. That's very fair. And especially with the way ROH gets booked, maybe they're like, you know what? It's not worth it. I'm just going to go do my thing elsewhere. Because I feel like Danhausen is probably somebody on the bubble. I don't know what his contract situation is as far as it expires, but he is somebody who will be okay.
He's an interesting case. Like he actually went to House of Truth. So he was trained over here, and I was looking at House of Truth Martini School. He was trained there also. They trained Danhausen as well. So he could come home. I mean, he's local here. He could come home.
He's at wrestling cons like when he's not wrestling, he's usually at a con doing stuff. He has a Whatnot store that's really active and popular. I am subscribed to like the $3 tier of his Patreon because I signed up for that before he was even in ROH, but he has high tiers like that go up to like the $100 tier. They were getting like these really cool jackets. Like, so he has that community and that fan base around him where financially he will probably be better off than most of the independent wrestlers most of the wrestlers who are not going to get re-signed. But Brad is correct. Maybe they didn't want to. Maybe they're just like, you know what? This isn't for me anymore.
I could see Danhausen taking a run and like getting tagged. And I could see him making a run in WWE for the cash.
It's possible.
Like he could do NXT. They've got the Evolve thing going on.
Yeah. I just don't know that where his character is. I don't know that it would fit in what NXT is doing currently.
Yeah, I'm not watching there, but I don't know.
No, with all the stuff that they've got going on, they don't really deal with gimmicks like that anymore. Yeah. And so maybe the Evolve stuff, if that was something he was interested in. But just the way NXT is currently set up, I don't know how he would fit into what they're doing. But who knows?
I wouldn't be shocked. I mean, if you saw him there at some point, it just would not shock me at all.
Nothing would shock me really in the wrestling business.
Wrestling.
LaRon says Britt is in Queen of the Ring also, and they haven't mentioned her either. Well, I'm sure they're. I
don't know where Britt stands with the company right now.
Apparently, from what I have heard, I don't know how accurate this is. She has not there because she's dealing with some personal stuff and has requested time away. I don't know how accurate that is. And has been apparently the last I heard, she was open to coming back if they needed her for something. But apparently she is the one that has requested time away. Again, I don't know how accurate that is. And we do know she came back from some serious injury stuff. So maybe she's having to deal with, that. But
and the only thing that I heard was that she's probably not coming back to agree with. I mean, that's what I've heard. Just what did
I have not heard that, but that doesn't mean it's not true.
Right.
I have not heard that.
And I don't know whose choice it is necessarily because of the way that things are. But I just think that when you look at the like overall picture of her like tenure, I think that some of the things that happened at the end didn't sit well with people, and that has created. I don't think that they're mad that she's taking time off, is what I would say. If that's what's going on.
Fernando is asking where Wardlow is. Wardlow is injured. I believe he was in that car accident last year on the way to the pay-per-view, and he suffered several injuries, and I believe also a concussion. And the last I heard, it's been maybe a couple months since somebody asked. And from what I understand, he's still considered injured. I don't know where he is on his timetable of recovery, but that's the last thing I heard was that he was still injured and still dealing with that type of stuff. Yeah, Brad said he thinks buyer's remorse on Camille. Yeah, Brad says that Britt's under contract for a while.
Oh, okay.
Yes, agreed. That if they have not announced it, it is. I mean, he says set to announce. It is rumored. And it's also the week before All In. If that date is correct.
Of course it is. Because it's not a wrestling war, but we're going to keep counter programming everything you do.
We were talking about that earlier. That there has several months ago, there were rumors that they may not do Supercard the same time, but I have not heard.
I don't know anything.
What they're doing. And I asked about the TV situation on the media call on Thursday because somebody else asked something very close to my question related to the women main eventing. So I went with the ROH question because I do watch it. And so
Sam's one of the
also mainly I asked because I want to know when Chris Jericho is dropping that title. Because if they get a TV deal, then he shouldn't have it much longer. But he just said they have been having talks with people, but their focus obviously has been the AEW stuff that they just got on Max. They just announced the Amazon Prime deal for people to watch pay-per-views. So that's kind of been their priority, but they are still having multiple talks with various people regarding ROH. And that's pretty much where he left it. And that's pretty much what he says anytime that somebody is asked. So that's where things are at with that. But as far as I know, it's been up in the air. They have not announced when SuperCard of Honor is going to be, but that's not atypical of them. Sometimes they wait and announce things. I wouldn't be surprised if we don't know until April when they're doing it. That's a good question. If TK would bring in wrestlers like Sonya, Indy, and Tegan. Tegan is back in Europe, I think. I mean, not that they can't bring her in, but I think she's been wrestling in the UK, I feel like. Indy trains with Mercedes sometimes. So there's always that connection. Maybe. It would be interesting to see.
I mean, wrestling borders are coming down in all of the promotions a little bit more. So maybe, I mean.
Yeah, so it's certainly possible if he would, he could, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if he did. Brad said, I think Jericho drops the title to Bandito in their next match, which is what they're building to. Possibly Bill and Brian are turning face. Yeah, I kind of see that that's where it's going. And I think that's leading to SuperCard of Honor, whenever that's going to be.
If they do it, yeah.
I mean, they will do it. SuperCard is their biggest, that's besides, like they have.
I mean, that's their WrestleMania, right?
Basically, because it happens WrestleMania. I mean, Final Battle is arguably probably.
Yeah, you're right. That is a pretty big show.
But SuperCard, they only have 3 pay-per-views as it is. It's SuperCard, Death Before Dishonor, and Final Battle.
Right.
So there's that. I
haven't missed SuperCard since essentially, like, if there's been a SuperCard, including the one I was at in 2019, I've pretty much watched them since then.
Right. Oh, wow. I was going to retweet from where Garrett tweeted about for our show, and so I was going to promote it. And Twitter just showed me that Zack Sabre Jr. is getting announced for a bunch of.
Well, he's going to be on the Bloodsport show.
He's not only is he's doing all 3 GCW shows. He's doing Bloodsport. He's doing Effie's Big Gay Brunch, and he's doing Joey Janela's Spring Break. And I'm so fucking excited because I watched all 3 of those shows. Wait. But I just saw, and I had already saw he got announced for. He's doing Prestige April 12th, I think. But he just got announced for Defy for April 13th against Timothy Thatcher. Right? That's why I was like, hold on. I have to talk about this. I know we're here for Revolution, but
oh my God, what?
Because Twitter showed me, apparently the wrestling goddesses needed us to know, and I'm sending it to my friends. Hold on.
Put it in my face.
It's gonna be. I don't know. Oh, it's gonna be live on Triller. So if you got the Triller subscription, if you don't pay, it's $7. I got grandfathered in. I'm on the original price, but I believe it's still $7.99 a month. That match alone is worth more than $7.99 a month. So you should do that.
I sign up for Flirt the Culture, and I do that. Like the Bloodsport event is my Bloodsport sort of, because it's like at like 3 or 4 o'clock on Thursday of WrestleMania weekend. I look at that as the kickoff show to WrestleMania weekend now because you got me into all the stuff around it.
You're welcome.
Thank you. No, I'm grateful.
You're welcome.
No, it's so great to like. It's so funny how it became like I love WrestleMania weekend, but not for WrestleMania at all.
Same.
There's so much good wrestling. It's not WrestleMania, but everything else.
if Timothy Thatcher is an ID talent, he is not listed in this tweet as an ID talent or on the
wouldn't be
poster,
shocked though because of the Regal
typically
connect.
they say WWID talent in any tweet that they're in and on the posters as well. I know he was supposed to be involved, but I don't know what happened for that. He may, because I thought that maybe he had been ID'd, but he's currently, unless they just have to redo the thing, because usually when they are ID'd, they have to announce, like they have to put on the poster that they're ID'd and have the little ID logo.
They have that little sticker.
There's currently
Freedom
not
Ramsey
one
has
on this
it,
logo. That doesn't mean maybe they just left it off and it's possible they have to redo it, but according to this.
Card subject.
Okay, Brad says that he's a trainer. He's not a ID talent. That makes me
that makes a ton of sense. He's been around for ever.
Yeah, that's why I was kind of like,
that's great actually. That's
yes,
solid.
I'm so excited for ZSJ versus Kid Bandit for Big Gay Brunch. I am so excited for that because Kid Bandit had taken some time off and I cannot wait to see that match. And I can't wait to see who he's wrestling at Bloodsport and at Joey Janela's Spring Break. I cannot wait for those announcements. Natty also got announced for Bloodsport this year. It'll be her first time doing it. I'm really excited to see who she faces. I was hoping maybe Masha, but I feel like there was another female talent who was just it's Micah from Stardom. I think isn't that where Micah's from? She got announced for Bloodsport. So that might be Natty's opponent, maybe, which would be really good if that is also the case. Vicken says this. You're probably I sent the Zach Timothy Thatcher match to one of the Slacks I'm in as well, and they just got a response. Oh, they booked this specifically for me.
True story.
Thank you. Okay, yes, it is Stardom, and she is Mina's unit partner. Okay, see, that's what I thought because I just wrote an article about Mina because Mina got injured a few weeks ago, and I was writing about it, and I was like, yeah, didn't I just write something about Micah? That's what it was. So I wouldn't be surprised if it's Micah versus Natty, which would be fabulous.
Bloodsport's always like one of my favorite shows. So
yes, and it's the same day.
I'm a sap for. I'm a total mark for strong for shoot style wrestling. My friend introduced me to it, and if you turn that way, there's no going back. So, and Josh Barnett wants like not like the UWF that the Grand Hamato was in, but the one that came later, and then UWFI and that sort of stuff. He's like, he just wants that to live on, and I do appreciate that. Josh Barnett, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you from this wrestling fan who likes that style of wrestling quite a lot. Like Bloodsport is one of my favorite shows of the week.
I really like Bloodsport a lot.
It's not let me down any of the times. I mean, it's so good. So agreed, Fernando. I'm a shoot style. The old school stuff is so fun. Like the Japanese shoot style. It's just so good, so good. Anyway, we could be here all day on that. We haven't even touched the card.
No, we haven't. Right. We've talked about that.
And Robert, I know you're gonna die on that tag team hill. We
talked about. We had this conversation last week, and
we have it every week. It's okay. I'm glad that Robert is on that. Listen. If you're promoting more women's wrestling in any form or fashion, that's like I'm cool with that. But Sam and I also are like get your ducks in a row first. Is basically
they can barely book the men's tag team division,
which they used to be really good
at with the Hurt Syndicate, but they can barely book the men. They sure as hell can't book the women when we have 4 women.
This is a turning point, but we'll get to the matches
when they have 4 women on a card. And they do 1 match per week. I don't think they're ready for tag team belts right now.
We're overloaded with belts right now. I think a little bit too.
Not even that. It's just they can't. They've got to consistently book their women better before we introduce tag titles.
But I appreciate the enthusiasm.
Yes,
so
absolutely.
Keep it up. Whatever you believe. Strong.
All right, let's get into this card since that's what I think a lot of people are here for.
Yes. What? We're doing something? So, right. I'm going to go based on an order that was essentially projected. And some of these I put in my own order because
that's fine. For 0 hour, it doesn't. I mean, this will probably close 0 hour. Would not. Well, actually, no, maybe not. Maybe they want people to tune into it. So maybe it'll be in Maybe it'll be in the middle.
I have a theory. So my theory with the 0 hour is start with this and lead in with the lucha.
That's certainly possible.
That's the order I
feel like last year they did.
I mean, some of it was projected booking, and some of it I fantasy booked myself. So
I think last time they did Big Boom, AJ, and QT like second or third, so that people would tune in to see them and then stay and have to stay through a couple matches to get to them. So I don't know that this would open because they are the attraction for people.
You're probably
who
right.
Don't normally watch wrestling, but regardless, this is a match happening. We have
hard subject to change, folks.
We have a situation. So if you haven't seen how this match came about, Big Boom, AJ, and Justice were backstage with Lexi, and Johnny TV, or Jonathan Television, as MXM Collection calls him, Jonathan Television, came backstage and was mad at them, and said that they challenged them to a match, but said that that AJ needed to find 2 partners because he had MXM Collection coming with him, and so Orange Cassidy and Mark Briscoe are those partners. I think it could be a lot of fun because of what it is and all the people involved. I love MXM Collection. I like Johnny TV. I like what he does. I like his silly gimmicks, and of course, I love Orange Cassidy, and I love the conglomeration with Mark Briscoe being involved. So I think this will be a fun match.
It'll be fun.
And so
this is the kind of stuff that belongs on the 0 hour, in my opinion.
Yes, if they're going to put it. I mean, you could make the argument that this should have been a women's match.
Well, we already made that argument for the last
time. I know what they're doing here. If it's translating to pay-per-view buys, then I get why they keep doing it. I'm glad that I saw the tweet or message.
That was hilarious.
I won't be surprised if he gets involved.
I popped
because he's QT, and just like Jericho will find a way to get involved in things that he should not be involved in.
True. I do love Mark Briscoe. I mean, right now he's like one of my favorite things. I'm trying
to remember. They said last night on Collision what they were calling themselves. It wasn't the conglomeration. It was something else, and I completely blanked on what they said. So if somebody in the chat remembers, please tell me, because I've been trying to remember what he said. And also Orange Cassidy's boom that he did. It was just he just said boom with all the excitement.
Yeah, that was pretty. Orange really Cassidy, he holds up no matter what. So I mean, whatever he's doing, I'm like behind it, even if it's silly, because he's just great.
He is great. And he kind of is perfect for what he's doing right now, because he's not in the title picture currently.
Yeah.
So I get it, Fernando. It's not, I mean, I don't hate it. It's not necessary. Like if they didn't book it, I would not miss it. But
yeah, I'm not, this is not my, I'm with Sam. If it hadn't been on the card, I wouldn't have thought twice about. I wouldn't go, why the hell wasn't this on the card?
Right. But this it's not a match I would go out of my way to see, but since I'm already gonna watch 0
this
hour,
has appeased WBD written all over it.
Yes, and they are trying to reach to a different market, people outside of, like, I get it that they're trying to reach out.
They have to. They just signed $500 million.
They announced before the show, and I'm so excited. They have announced that Adam Devine and Tony Caballero will be involved somehow tonight. They are from Righteous Gemstones. They're the last and final season starts tonight at 10 o'clock on Max. So I'm very sad I will not be able to watch it in real time, because I will be watching this pay-per-view. But they announced them earlier today. I don't know what they're doing. If they'll just be that.
Are you gonna watch?
My hope is that they come in the Redeemer. I've been. When Miro was there, that's all I wanted. Miro to come out in the Redeemer. That's what I wanted. So since Miro is
caught
gone
up now,
since Miro is gone, I want Kelvin and Keith to show up in the Redeemer. so bad. That is for this, not so much for me. That very much for me.
Very much for me.
I don't know what they're doing.
Are you gonna real quick? Are you gonna watch in real time, like week by week, or are you gonna wait?
Oh yeah, 100%.
Okay.
No, Nikki and I are obsessed with the show. We actually,
we love the show.
We started rewatching season 1 last night. We got like 5 episodes into season 1 because we haven't watched it since because like when we started watching, it was before the second. Wait, Nikki can tell me. Was it before the second season and we binged all the first one? Yeah, I think that's what it was. That we binged.
That's how we did Game of Thrones. We didn't catch up until the last year or two. We post COVID. So in the last 2 years or so, we caught up last year, and it was because all of my Ren Fair friends and you guys, as soon as it was you guys, but my Ren Fair friends for years had been like, "Have you watched this? Have you watched this?" And it was always, it's people, when it's people that you really love and that they're like looking out for your best interest, even when it comes to pop culture.
Yeah.
Like you and Nikki. Like we even finally you guys put us over on Gemstones and Stranger Things. The time I've known you. So thank you.
And Stranger Things we're still waiting on. It's coming.
It's coming someday.
Nikki said I'm bummed that Danny McBride won't be there, but I love them too, so it's all good. Yeah, I really wish Danny, but we were saying that maybe he's already got something else going on. And Nikki said she thinks that Danny's actually a wrestling fan because Danny is he's from North Carolina. I believe he's from Shelby, which is where
that's why I'm worried this pay-per-view is going to be
Eastbound and Down
hours.
Took place. Eastbound and Down took place in Shelby, and that's where that came from because that's where he's from, and that's
that guy is a.
I love Danny McBride.
That's some solid. That dude can do some solid comedy.
I don't know what his. I don't know. I was thinking about this last night. I was like, I don't know if he has some long-term contract with Max to keep providing different shows for them, but can't wait. I love Righteous Gemstones so much. I mean, I loved Eastbound and Down too, so I'm hoping that he's got.
I was less committed to it. I watched episodes, but not every episode. This was amazing. Gemstones.
Love Righteous Gemstones. So I understand. I'm so sad this is the last season, but I also understand there's only so much you can do.
I appreciate that shows are finally doing this thing. This has happened with a bunch, like What We Do in the Shadows just wrapped up. But again, you can't keep that show and it had to end because you can't keep doing the same cycles over and over. And
yeah, I kind of think that's where this has happened with. I think that's probably why they're doing that the same thing, especially and also because Walter Goggins is probably super busy because he's in 98 projects. He's also in Queen of the Ring.
Oh my God, that guy's
Walton Goggins. I think did I say Walter? I did not mean to.
It's Walton Goggins.
I didn't mean to say. I didn't even realize I said it. But Walton Goggins is incredible. Uncle Baby Billy is probably one of the greatest characters of all time.
His first character that made him even more was the Justified character, which is Boyd Crowder, which is one of my absolute most favorite antagonists in the history of all television ever.
Yeah, I've heard
one of the greatest antagonists ever, and him and Timothy Oliphant are spirit animals for protagonist and antagonistic characters. I could have watched that forever. He's so, but then he can go do Uncle Baby Billy, and then it's amazing. The guy is he's money. Anyway, we'll be here forever.
Yes, and I agree with Nikki. I loved Eastbound and Down, but yeah, I prefer Gemstones over that too. And yes, it was, Nikki confirmed it was before season 2 because yes, our friends Zane Riley and Caleb Conley were used in as extras.
Nice.
In season 2.
Funny. I think I had friends in a couple of seasons over the years too that were extras as well. So it's because I know a couple of my clown pals. Hey guys, I do Kearney shit on every level. It's not just wrestling.
So I guess before we move on to the next match, who do you think wins this one?
I'm gonna give this one to the popular people because I think that the popular people need to win this. So I'm gonna go with Big Justice and
I'm going with that too because you're not gonna Big Boom AJ in and have him lose.
Yeah, I just don't.
Especially in this situation.
And if you think that that's going to be the lead in for the show, they're definitely going to win because you're going to get people hyped that, like you said, maybe don't always watch it, but they're YouTube guys, not TV guys or something. And that's a different dynamic because you can bring people in. I do believe, like, if you're going to get crossover, it's going to be from something like YouTube. Because that's what all the kids watch.
Well, they're really popular on TikTok, and that's where you.
Oh, there you go.
They're going to find the people. They're huge TikTok
silly
people.
All right, let's go. Moving on. Let's get to the next one. I think we're out of order. We're out of order here a little, but this I'm excited for.
I'm excited for, but I'm so annoyed that they add it just because. There's so much going on. This has been, if you're watching Collision, then you know this is an ongoing Collision feud. I mean, it has spilled over a little bit into ROH because all of Shane Taylor Promotions is ROH. Undisputed spent a lot of time in ROH, so it's kind of both, but most of it has been playing out on Collision. If you missed Collision last night, the main event was Daniel Garcia versus Lee Moriarty for the TNT Championship. It was a fantastic match last Saturday. Daniel Garcia and Adam Cole were having a phenomenal match when the Infantry got involved. And then SCP got involved, and they've all been Daniel's been involved, Undisputed's been involved, Shane Taylor Promotions. This has been an ongoing feud for like weeks now. So I do understand why they're doing it here. And I'm excited because I love all of them, especially if you have been here for 3 seconds, you probably know that I'm a huge fan of Shane Taylor Promotions. And so, I'm a fan of all these guys. So, but go ahead. What are your thoughts on this one?
When you bring the Infantry on, can you bring all of the Infantry on? Is my first thought. There's a missing member that doesn't seem to ever manage to get booked when they make their 5-second appearances. Yeah.
I don't know where. As far as I know, Trisha's not injured. So
as far as I know,
she's not.
She's
injured.
in the intro, but she's never coming out with her crew.
She hasn't been on ROH TV in a few episodes either.
Well, maybe
I don't know if she's doing other stuff, but regardless.
Anyway, but beyond that,
she's not out there.
I think because of the way this story is going, as much as you like Shane Taylor Promotions, I do believe that this one's going to United or whatever they're calling themselves now.
Undisputed Kingdom. Plus Daniel Garcia. Yes, and plus definitely. I don't know if it'll end with the rematch or with him giving the rematch. I know the rematch is coming because Adam challenged him last night, and he was like, "If you retain your title, I get a shot at that." So I think that match is coming, but I could see it, he gives it to him here, and then maybe it happens next week on Collision.
Yeah, unfortunately, I think that the SCP is here to eat the pin on this one. So.
Probably so.
Yeah,
which is unfortunate because Tony was really putting them over during the media call. He started out putting Lee over a lot, clearly, because he's putting over their feud. But then he was talking about how the Infantry has become a good tag team. He was talking about how Shane Taylor is one of the best. Really, really put them over, which I was glad to see. I think Vinkin says Trish Adora and Anna Jay haven't both wrestled since Battle in the Valley. I thought Trish had been. I was thinking that Trish had wrestled on ROH since then, but maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I just thought she had. I know Anna hasn't, and I don't know if there's injury things going on or if they were giving them time. I don't know what's going on with them. But I swear I really thought Trish had wrestled since then, but maybe I'm incorrect about that. Lady B said if AEW is going to start Max shows crossover appearances, I demand a Jennifer Coolidge Harley Cameron segment immediately. Yes, please. Please. We need this. Especially after what you've done to us today, Tony Khan. Give us the.
Yeah, happy Women's Appreciation Month or whatever the heck all it's
3 months.
Thank you.
But yeah, I think you're right. I do think that 2 wins as well. That it's going to be.
Daniel. So yeah, that's my feeling. I mean, it's not what my heart wants, but I think that that's not how we book things.
Yeah, and another in ROH comes the Revolution match. This match randomly got introduced last night. Blake Christian versus Lee Johnson and Commander and Hologram. Commander and Hologram have been doing stuff together on Collision. They've kind of been having to defend each other from LFI, trying to take their masks and things. So that's kind of going back and forth. Blake Christian has nothing to do with either one. Unless I'm have blocked it from my memory. Blake Christian has nothing to do with Commander and Hologram. He hasn't done anything with them recently. Lee Johnson wrestled Commander a few weeks ago, I believe. Wasn't it Commander? I believe it was Commander that he wrestled like 2 months ago, something like that. But other than that, like, there's no reason to book them for this match unless it was just all 4 men were available. And
I think this is regional. I believe this has to do with the location. I think this has everything to do with this taking place in Southern California and them getting the luchadors on the card.
I forgot that Blake was in the TV title picture. I forgot about that. You're right. Yes. That's right. Yes, and it probably is a regional thing too. Roosh has been suspended again. Nigel said it like 4 times last night. Like
that didn't take long. Is that the fastest?
Like he missed time a few weeks ago.
Didn't he just come back from an injury?
A suspension.
Oh, he got back from a suspension.
Suspended. That's what we were trying to figure out. I believe he's been suspended twice now in the last few months because Nigel kept saying last night he's suspended for putting his hands on an official, which is why he was suspended because they brought him back and he was suspended. And I believe it was Brad who joked about shocking that he went into business for himself or something like that.
Oh no.
So Brad said he thinks that it might be a visa issue. Nigel wouldn't mention on TV if it wasn't a story. Okay, I don't know. He mentioned it. He said 4 different times last night that he was suspended again for putting his hand on him. So maybe it is kayfabe, but he was legitimately suspended a few weeks ago for putting his hands on an official.
Which I guess is why it would work in kayfabe if that's what they're doing, but who knows?
So that's what Nikki and I were trying to figure out, if he was legitimately suspended twice for the same thing or if they are using it. But he was legitimately suspended several weeks ago. And that's why it was only Beast Mortos was on TV because Dralistico wasn't there either.
Right.
Because they pulled them both off. Yes. Yeah. Hassan said yes. The one before was real. So yes, that's what we were trying. I was like, did he really get suspended for the exact same thing twice? But covering for a visa issue would also make sense. So
well, and it would make the kayfabe more believable since the dude has been suspended and has had diva issues in the past.
Yes. Yeah, there are a bunch of visa issues.
Well, because of our madness that's happening in the world.
Yes. Again, like somebody mentioned in the comments, that's why Jamie Hayter is not here. And she had a really good, I haven't seen the match with Alex Windsor, but I heard it was really good. And somebody else in the comments said it was really good as well. Thank you. Happy Sunday. Happy Sunday to
Kenny.
you.
Welcome.
Yes. So, I could see, I think somebody said, wait, was it Brad? Maybe who said that maybe he'll get the pin to set up the match. It's possible. I was going to say Commander and Hologram win here, but if they are setting up a title match, then I could see it playing out the way Brad says.
I'm going to go with Brad's I'm just going to take, just because this was such a late ad, and I do think that the luchadors are there for the crowd, but I think that if there is an angle here, then they should use it. And so I will take Lee and Blake Christian there on this one, just for the sake of a prediction.
There we go. Works for me.
Call me Nostradamus. Here we go. No, I gotta show this because I love this.
We missed a match.
What did I miss?
Jericho versus Commander because
Where'd it go?
I mean,
I bet you there it is. Sorry.
Yeah, Gravity. I know I sent it to you late because I forgot to send it to you last night.
No, I put it in here. I was like, wait a minute, what the F happened? I went too far. Sorry.
I mean, we don't even really need to talk about it because Chris Jericho is going to win.
I take Chris Jericho here. I don't know why they needed to add this, except Chris Jericho has to be on. There's some sort of universal law that says that Chris Jericho must be on every single.
No, he missed like 3 last year, so he has to be on like 96.
What, the ones while he was on his cruise or on tour?
I don't remember.
I mean,
maybe.
Anywho. We have more card to work on, unless anyone has anything to say about this.
No, we kind of
already gonna win. It'll be fine. Yeah. Gravity's better than Chris, but right now, but whatever.
Is Gravity better than Chris?
You know what? Why is that match on the card anyway?
Because
Am I going the wrong way? I am.
You are going.
He's got me all turned around now.
Okay, now we can go to this.
We're back on some kind of track. I really like this graphic. I think it's fun.
I think it's probably the cool, besides the women's one, which we'll get to, this is probably my favorite graphic that they did.
Oh yeah. I was glad when the ones you sent me were really cool. I tried to make them stand out a little because AEW sucks at giving us pictures, but this is something that I'm actually looking for. I think this is good. MJF's gonna have to wrestle. Hopefully there won't be a lot of shenanigans, and there'll be a wrestling match.
When MJF cares about a feud, he shows up.
Yeah.
And he cares about this feud because you can hear it in some of his promos that he's doing. He gives a shit. And I think he knows the level that Hangman is on and the love that people have for him, which is kind of, now he's trying to do the Hangman thing where he has a shirt that says, MJF was right, playing off the Hangman thing and stuff like that. I think, I'm really looking forward to this match.
Me too. I hope this could be if this is a wrestling match, it's going to be a hell of a wrestling match.
Yeah, I think Hangman is going to win this one.
I do too. I think he's very hot. I feel like they are positioning him. I think this is a good win. I don't think it's going to hurt MJF at all because MJF isn't really, but yes. Hangman's great right now. This is the Hangman that, I referenced that G1 match a long ass time ago when he was in his last G1 with Minoru Suzuki as Hangman has arrived and the potential you saw. And like, again, with some of their booking the first time we talked about it, I don't think we saw like the kind of champion that Hangman could be because it was early on. And I don't think that the booking was as good as, Tony didn't have the experience then that he has now. So I think maybe letting this, it's evolved pretty naturally. And Angry Millennial Cowboy is my favorite version of Hangman. And
Hangman, we've talked about it. Hangman is somebody that started out in my indie promotion way before he was in ROH. He's been a guy that Hangman is like one of my favorites. I will never boo this man ever. You will not get me to boo him for any reason. Hangman is not wrong. He's never wrong. And so I do, but Fernando has an interesting theory that if this is a trilogy, MJF wins match 1. I can see that.
Okay.
I can see that.
I love that idea, actually. I am here for that. That's a great, that would be fun.
Lady B says, I really hope they show Restraint No Fire in LA, please. Please, no. There's been enough fire.
Actually, just to be clear, just so you guys know, Jim Valley made a rule on Wrestling Observer Live, which makes it official canon yesterday, that no more fire. And I actually asked for clarification, and I asked because I said, are you still mad about Swerve's childhood home being burned down? And he said that it was specifically the in-ring wrestler-on-wrestler fire violence that he was against.
So homes and structures are okay, not other people.
Outside infrastructures, things not involved in the ring.
Not in LA.
But spitting fire out your mouth at a fellow wrestler is not what we want to be doing. So it's wrestler on wrestler fire violence is officially
understood.
Especially in the building, in the ring.
Yes. Yes, I'm very well aware of AML. I've been to a couple shows. I have some beef with them over a situation that happened when I went to the first AML show I went to, and I have a friend who goes to their shows almost monthly or every other month. I will save that beef story for another day.
That's going to be a different show. Otherwise, we'll be here until after.
Yes.
We'll be here as long as the pay-per-view, which is looking to be about 14 hours by my reckoning at this point.
Brad says MJF versus Hangman in an Inferno match at Y'all In. Fernando says no more attempted murder. And Vinkins says putting a table on fire during the main event and coming. And then Hassan said Hangman should be main eventing All In. That is not happening.
Since Jim is the king of effing recovery, or the effing king of recovery, we'll have to let the king decide, I guess, what penalties will be doled out if one-on-one in-ring fire violence is used.
I will go back and finish the thought. They are hinting at Omega Okada 5. That will be your main event. There's nothing else that will be your main event. That's what they planted seeds for, and that's what's going to main event that. Laura says MJF always wins the first match in a feud. Oh, that's interesting. I don't know if I realized that.
It makes sense though. That I would believe
that makes a ton of sense, and he does
because he does that thing where he drags the belt around and makes you earn the shot. But
there's no title involved here, though.
Right? I know, so they won't be able to do that. He'll have to actually feud.
But that is a good point. I'll definitely that's a really good point. And if this is a trilogy,
I'm in for a feud.
I'm still going with Hangman. However,
I'm not changing my pick.
You both make good
late
for
no going back.
MJF.
Gotta go forward. All right, let's see here. We have boom. Why is this going out of the way?
Speaking of number one, we had this conversation earlier about the number one contenders match, and that is how we got to Ricochet versus Swerve. Ricochet didn't want anything to do with Swerve because he already beat him, even though he did not beat him clean. And he's like, I already beat you. What do I need to do this for? And they were like, well, let's make it a number one contenders match. And he was like, okay, I'll do it. And then we also have the added layer of Jimmy Rave's his ring jacket has been stolen by Ricochet. Ricochet has said that he did not have it on Wednesday because he was making alterations to it, and Nana nearly fought him on the spot. So that certainly makes things much more interesting. Obviously, Ricochet was gonna stab Swerve with the scissors, but Swerve got to him first, and then Swerve said into the camera, wait, was it this? I can't remember if it was this promo or the promo before, but he said into the camera, this feud was the start. I think it was the first promo, not this one, but that he was this was the start of him getting back into the title picture. And so it definitely added a lot of stakes to this, on top of the Ricochet stealing Jimmy Rave's jacket. And I had almost thought originally, when I heard the way Nana was speaking to Ricochet, I thought they were planting some seeds that Nana was going to turn on Swerve. But then someone pointed out that they took it as he's trying to make Swerve, like he was like, you have softened a little bit. You're not the threat that you used to be when you were champion. If you want to be champion, you need to go back to the old Swerve that we saw in the Hangman feud. I need that version of you. And we kind of got that on Wednesday with the scissor stabbing in the forehead. So maybe I don't want Nana to turn, but it would also make sense. So I'm kind of conflicted on that, but I do think that Swerve wins here. What are your thoughts on this?
The Nana turning thing seems plausible to me. I don't know. I look at this match and say Swerve but I don't know. Now I'm confused. You know what? I don't know if they want to put Swerve back in the title picture this second.
Well, but I don't know that where Rick. If
I'm gonna go with Swerve. I'm
Nikki
taking.
and I
Swerve
had the
because-
conversation yesterday where we were kind of like. Also, it depends on who wins. If Cope is your first,
Yeah.
If Cope wins tonight, then you have Ricochet and or Swerve as his number one contender. But if Mox retains, those are his number one contenders. Swerve has been in AEW for a while now. Kind of goes with Mox's whole ethos of
making a bunch of Moxes. I don't think, I guess if Mox retains, it makes more sense for Swerve to win. Because I don't think Ricochet's ready. I don't think Ricochet's ready for the title picture yet.
No, I don't either. So that's kind of where, and just because Swerve's in the title picture doesn't mean he's going to win.
Right.
So
it's
kind of hard because there's a couple of different ways that, depending on how these stories play out,
which I like and appreciate because that's the way it should be. Because that tends to be good storytelling.
Yes, and so Brad said the same thing. Swerve should win this, but I saw someone say Nana turns on him to side with Ricochet. Now I'm worried that that's going to happen. Yeah, that's kind of
I've heard that murmuring too, Brad. I don't know.
Fernando says I have a gut feeling Prince Nana is gonna turn on Swerve and cost him the match.
I mean, if he's gonna lose, it should be with shenanigans. Like it shouldn't be like if he's gonna lose, it should be with shenanigans. Like Ricochet can't win clean here. I don't think.
Yeah. Fernando says in storyline, Prince Nana thinks he's upgrading for Swerve, right? If they do the turn, and then Venkin says it depends on what the main event is. I have theories about that. I'll get to it. I'll save that for when we talk about the main event. Yes. Jermaine says, do you think Samantha Irving comes down with Nana jacket on during Swerve and Ricochet match? That's an interesting theory that I have not thought about because I've heard she's been backstage a few times to support Ricochet. Obviously was in Atlanta. But I've heard she's been backstage a few times.
They referenced her on a show recently, didn't they?
Yes.
Like as in your partner, go have her do a broadcast about it or something.
Right. So that would be interesting. Brad says, "Oh man, Twitter would explode if Samantha showed up. We need that now."
Let's kill.
Twitter is already. They're so mean to her. They're ridiculous.
Explode it.
Swerve versus Ricochet could spoil the main event winner. It certainly could. He's heard that Samantha is done with wrestling. Yeah, I know she's focusing on her music career. Good. So I wouldn't be surprised if she does not get involved. But man, what a way.
That'd be weird.
That would be really interesting. Vinkins says all WWE elite hating would be for real, or would be hating for real. Yes, if she got involved, they certainly would. Yeah, and I'm kind of curious where they put this match and how far away they keep it from Mox and Cope, so that you maybe kind of forget this, because it's not guaranteed that they will be the very next number one contender. I would assume that would be the case. I assume it's setting up for Double or Nothing. It's really interesting how they could go with this, because there is also Christian's contract situation. But I have heard the rumor that as long as Mox is champion, Christian Cage will not be cashing in. He has a year. He has till August. So he doesn't necessarily. So he's kind of, I don't want to say he's a non-factor, but we still have to keep that in mind that at some point he's the contender for someone. And then also there's this. So this could be, maybe this does set up Double or Nothing, and they just go ahead and do the number one contendership match there, which is very interesting. So yeah, I would assume they're going to keep those matches pretty far apart from each other, so you kind of forget by the time you get to it.
I hope so. That makes more sense.
Yeah.
All right. Here we go.
This match is going to be so good.
This is going to be fire.
I'm so excited for this one. We have the Proto Star, Kyle Fletcher, versus the assassin Will Ospreay in a steel cage. Will said last night, this is the first time in his career he's ever been in a match like this. He's already banged up because the Don Callis family jumped him on Wednesday. Fletcher kind of finished him off. Then they teased Fletcher and and Mark Davis, which I cannot wait for that I think they'll tease it for a while, but I cannot wait for the eventual Mark Davis versus Kyle Fletcher match that is coming, because Mark Davis did not want to attack Ospreay, and Kyle said, "You listen to me now. You do what I say, and I say that you attack him with that chair." And he was in Davis's face and just yelling at him. Dunk did not want to do it, but he did it because Don Callis has said, if Mark Davis wants to work, he has to be in the Don Callis family and do what I say. Otherwise, he doesn't have a job. So now Kyle is taking advantage of that. And if you have somehow missed the 48 promos about it, Mark Davis and Kyle Fletcher stayed in Will Ospreay's home during the COVID times.
Is that true? I'd never heard that before.
Never, ever, ever have I heard this story.
It's like they're homies or something because they hung out during the plague or whatever.
And then I didn't even realize it until Will said it last night in the promo. He wore the United Empire armband because he says he saw it when he was packing his clothes and wore it in case maybe Kyle would see it and it would trigger him to remember their bond, the bond of United Empire. Maybe that would do something, and clearly it didn't. It did not. And then I had saw a few people speculating if anybody from United Empire would show up tonight, but it's like half of them are in the New Japan Cup, so I don't think anybody is coming.
I don't. Although I will say this as just someone, I mean, they are mentioning the United Empire being like, they're talking about it over here in AEW. They're also talking about it on the New Japan shows a little bit. It's my antenna are up for it a little, but Chris Charlton was like having a whole conversation about like the remnants of United Empire and AEW's people and Will Ospreay. And I'm like, maybe my United Empire North America dream will come true someday, but
it's essentially dead as of right now in North America. And let's see, Jeff Cobb, Callum Newman, and Greatest O'Khan are all in the cup. Is there somebody else, or is that everybody?
I think there
Gideon Gray hasn't been seen. I mean, they mentioned Gideon Gray, but Gideon hasn't been seen in a million years.
Like there's one more, but I can't think of it off the top of my head.
Yeah, so I don't see anybody from United Empire getting involved tonight unless...
I don't see them getting involved tonight.
No,
I just feel like they're planning. They feel like they're planting seeds for a future
and
thing.
Perhaps it is to lead to Forbidden Door later this year.
That's
could
smarter.
Be where we're going here. Perhaps that's where they do Kyle and Mark.
Because that would make sense because that's home.
Then have United Empire kind of pick sides, potentially.
Yeah.
Maybe. We'll see how that plays out. But and yes, Lady B said, and didn't he pick up from his son from school that one time? Just one time. Yes. Oh, TJP is the other member of
Thank
United
you, Brad.
Empire. I was like, yes, that's right.
I knew there was somebody else that was driving.
That's what I was thinking. I was like, there's somebody else in the cup, right? Yeah.
Drive me cuckoo.
Lady B says, I really hope this doesn't lead to a Kyle Mark feud because that feels like a major downgrade for Kyle. I disagree. Just because Mark Davis, AEW has not presented Mark Davis in the way that he should be presented. Mark Davis is really fucking good. We saw that in the
Best of Super Juniors like 2 years ago.
Or Super Juniors when they both did singles matches, and I was so impressed with them. And
I would have agreed with you if I hadn't seen him wrestle singles in that Best of Super
and it
Juniors.
is the book. And Kyle, obviously with Mark Davis's injury, Kyle just took the ball and ran with it and has turned himself into this major star. Kyle is incredible, but Mark Davis, I think, is really underrated, and part of that is because of how he's been booked. But he also missed a lot of time with injury. So if they can build him back up, and I hope that's what they're doing, then I think the feud will be really good because Mark Davis can go.
I think you'll be pleasantly surprised if they can build him right, if they can do the right thing, like booking wise with him, because he was excellent in that BOSJ. It was either last year or the year before, then the two of them were singles.
It was before they came to. It was before either one of them signed with AEW.
2 years ago, I think now, but.
Lady B says, "I hope if you have hope in AEW presenting Mark better than I'll trust you. I just don't trust it. I get it. I totally get it, and I like a lot of it. I said it. Yeah, it definitely depends on how they book him, and I kind of hope that's where they're going with this by putting Mark Davis in here. That they're gonna start booking him better because if they can get the booking right, then this feud would be really good. If
he's great, I mean, he really is great if they get it right, but that's TBD."
Yeah, it depends on, because you know how Tony is. Brad says that Sean Ross Sapp said that Gabe and Clark came over to start the Forbidden Door build and starting to build that too. And you can kind of see that with the CMLL stuff in ROH, a little bit of Stardom stuff. Collins and I talked about that on Thursday. That seems that unless you watch, I mean, if you don't watch ROH, then you might be part of the crowd saying, who, when they start booking people for Forbidden Door. But I think they're trying to do a better job at introducing people well in advance of Wrestle Dynasty and Forbidden Door. I think is kind of what they're doing. And obviously they have a relationship with it. So I could see that being, I do think we see some United Empire people, but not tonight.
Right, here we go. Where are we?
And I don't think we said with the last match who we thought was going to win.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, out of Kyle Fletcher and Will Ospreay. Oh shoot, who do I think is going to win? You go first.
They both have good reasons for winning, and it would do a lot for either of them. But I think I'm going to go with Ospreay here.
Overcoming the
injuries, because Kyle made the comment, you are the one always standing in my way, and once our careers are done, I will be known as the greatest ever, and you will be known as simply Kyle Fletcher's greatest rival.
And overcoming his and like putting the Don Callis family in their place a little bit. This match is going to be effing insane.
Yeah. It definitely could go either way.
But I think that you're probably right. I think that because of where we are in this story, and you've got another Don Callis family feud deal on this card, I think that Will is probably the winner of this mad match that we're probably about to experience.
Yes. And before we get to this match, Kenny has a question for you.
All right. Did you get a free bowl of soup when you... Oh, that's hilarious. That's a Caddyshack. Nicely done. I did get... Bless you. Bless you for that. Love me some Caddyshack references. Thank you, Kenny.
I was like, hold on, you gotta answer this first. Yes, prayers that Kyle and Will jump off of things safely.
A true story. Yes, they there is that factor. It's kind of it's channeling the Naito Ibushi days where we were all like, we like when you wrestle, but also stop trying to kill each other.
Yes. Also, Cope, we saw what happened.
Yes. Although he's a little older, these guys are a little young.
So Jermaine says because of the special stipulation for Swerve versus Ricochet match, TK to have Mox and Cope, then Swerve versus Ricochet and close with Tony. That's what I would like that, but I don't think that's happening because Tony had plenty of chances to announce the women main eventing. The women should be main eventing. Let's make that abundantly clear. This is a story you've been telling for 18 months. It's the best story you've got. The women have never made it a pay-per-view. Grand Slam Australia was not a pay-per-view. It was an amazing show, and they should have main evented that. But that does not appear to be the case. He was asked flat out on the media call. The third question was, when will you see women could we see women main eventing in 2025? Which is a question I have asked him. It was for 2024, I believe. And he said, yes, it's possible. Then went on to recap the entire match. So he had time to say right then and there, the women will be main eventing, but he did not. Wrestling Observer said last week, they said Mox and Cope was main eventing. I don't know if that was them guessing just because it's Mox in the main event, or if they were outright told that. It has not been confirmed. But also, when you watch the countdown show last night, when they told it in order of the card, the thing they closed with was Mox versus Cope. Mm-hmm. And I will have more to say when we get to that title match, but yes.
Let's see.
Said, yes, I thought about that too, and also going to bring that up. They didn't announce until in the show that Athena was main eventing last year during Death Before Dishonor. It was when they were doing the double main event, and then they halfway through the show, they were like, "We're double main eventing, and Athena is the main event."
Yep. But, yeah, we had a big bait and switch conversation about that last year.
Yes, it would be on brand.
Actually, it was more like a bait and bitch session.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Yes. USDA guy says, amazing that a company actually starts to build for a partner show ahead of time. Sort of shows the whole epitome of a partnership. There's a whole lot more that's going to start happening. I'm glad they're finally figuring it out.
Me too.
Or that AEW is figuring out their side of things, I should say. Building for this.
He's got 5 years of experience now. That's great. All right, let's go. What is the next episode? What is the next match on our docket?
All right, so we've already seen. So we have Kazuchika Okada defending his Continental Championship against Brody King. He wrestled at I think aforementioned Grand Slam Australia non-pay-per-view event. He wrestled Buddy Matthews in a phenomenal match. It was a really great match. And Kazuchika obviously retained. He's been kind of hinting at he last week he interrupted a segment with Julia and Brody, was kind of out of place, and then last week, after Julia lost to Queen Aminata, Brody came to check on her, and Okada got in the ring and blindsided him by hitting him with the title, which set up a pay-per-view match a week before. And here we are. This match is going to be a banger because Brody is another dude who is highly underrated in singles competition. Mm-hmm. But Okada is winning this. Okada is holding on to this title, I think, until All In. I don't think that Omega Okada 5 needs a title, but I feel like that's where they're going with this, is that he hangs on to it until then. That's my thought.
Now,
what do you think?
I think the title that could be in question could just be the international title based on the later match in this, which we'll get to. Mm-hmm. But I don't think that Okada is necessarily dropping the Continental tonight, because that's a ways off. There's other things going on. Oh. I think that, but the reality of, because if Kenny wins tonight, he wins the international championship. Yeah, you now have a belt on the line, and it's a belt that's an important one that tends to be a fighting one. And I mean, well, again, I don't want to we'll get to the Kenny match,
yes, but I agree.
Just because
that's my thought too.
I do think Okada is dropping the Continental coming up here. It could be tonight because maybe they want to give Brody a push, but I don't think it's tonight.
I don't think. Also, I think when Buddy is cleared because he injured his foot in his entrance at Grand Slam, I think that eventually they will be the ones to dethrone the Hurt Syndicate for the tag titles. I think is what's happening. Because I had thought that maybe maybe Buddy would be Okada, and then somebody, I think it was Brad, pointed out the Hounds in Hell thing, which I had forgotten about. So I think that Hounds of Hell are going to win the tag titles eventually.
Which kind of leads to that also lends to kind of Okada retaining.
I don't think it's going to be easy.
I don't think it's going to be easy. I think Okada will give Brody as long as Brody comes to play, this should be a really good match.
Brody doesn't get title shots very often. Brody doesn't get title shots very often, but when he gets singles matches, he always shows out. But this is a title shot, and I think Brody is
against Okada. I mean,
yeah, and it's going to be pay-per-view Okada, not road to house show Okada.
This is Brody. In the sense of wrestling, I'm not talking about titles or anything. This is Brody's match to lose in terms of performance.
Yeah.
Because Okada is Okada and always will be Okada. And if he has to carry him, he'll carry him. But I don't think that's what's going to happen here.
No, I don't think so either.
I think Brody's earned.
As Todd said, imagine if, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, you're good. It's go.
Imagine if Julia Hart missed it Okada.
That would be kind of funny.
That would be actually really funny.
I mean, if it went that way, then maybe.
Lady B says, I wonder if this is the match where the Bucks make a comeback to help Okada. It is certainly possible. They're in their neck of the woods. We haven't seen the Bucks on AEW television since Mox. That's the only thing. I don't know if they could come here, but also they went home because of the Death Riders, and they have been working from home. Because they're unsafe with the Death Riders. So do they come back? Why but also Death Riders are pretty much all incapacitated except for Jon Moxley. So maybe they feel more safe coming back with Jon Moxley. But the Bucks have not been seen because they dropped their tag titles to Naito and Hiromu. And so they haven't been seen anywhere since then. Brad says that he thinks the Bucks show up after the tag titles match.
Yeah, I was leaning towards the tag match also. I do think that there's a chance the Bucks will show up, but that was where I was going to put that in my... But, I mean, if they were going to show up to help... I mean, if that was how you're going to play it, he's their boy. So.
Yeah, they could do it that way.
I just feel like
that's Lady B makes that's a really good theory.
I mean, and Brody isn't the worst person to have the Continental title on. I think that there's talk about them merging the Continental title with the International title at some point, which I think is probably a good idea. I think that I just feel like they made up the Continental title so they could put it on Okada. I mean,
they didn't. No, they put it on. It was on Eddie Kingston. It was for the Triple Crown, for him to be a Triple Crown.
Maybe until Eddie
the title was technically created for.
So maybe Eddie will come back and win that off Okada and get his title back. And maybe because we've got. I mean, August is a little bit off.
If that's still his time frame, but no, that title was technically created for Eddie so that he could be the Triple Crown champion.
You're right. Yes, you're right.
First AEW Triple Crown champion, and then the Intercontinental Championship was created because Warner Brothers wanted another title.
Well, the international one,
or the international, yes,
that they first called like the world title, but put like it was weird, but yes.
And Lady B said she thought of it as a way for the Bucks to work with the new Hounds of Hell tag team. I mean, that's certainly a really good theory, and I could see that being how instead of maybe showing up at the end of the tag match, maybe it is this first. That could be something that they could
it would definitely piss Brody off, and then they'd have to come back as a tag with the.
We know there's not been a timetable on. There's not been a timetable for Buddy yet, has there? For what he's. I know he's in a boot. No. I know he's in a boot. I know that much, but I have not heard what his timetable for return is.
Do not know. I would have to say
that might change things too.
All right. What is this?
Speaking of the tag titles.
That's good. That's a good transition. Some of these pictures are better than others.
So the Outrunners were a surprise getting this title shot. They beat I just blanked on it. Who did they beat to get
last
the tag
night?
No. The tag titles to get the tag titles. It wasn't Hounds of Hell, right? Because it was injured. It was Why did I do? Oh, it was Murder Machines.
Thank
you. That's right. It was Murder Machines, and Brian Cage Archer had one of them up on his shoulder.
Archer was on Dynamite this week. I forgot.
The Hurt Syndicate.
Yes, thank you, Lauren.
The Hurt Syndicate's music played.
Right.
That opened up the Outrunners to get the upset win, and they decided to I don't want to say hot shot because the Outrunners are really popular. Murder Machines. Not that they're not popular. I think some people
they just
really
haven't been booking those guys.
But the Outrunners are really fucking over. And so they got their match against the Hurt Syndicate. MVP, they're not taking the Outrunners seriously at all. They're overlooking them. Do I think there's going to be an upset win here? No, absolutely not. But I don't know that it is going to be the squash that it could be. I feel like they're going to, because the Outrunners are so over and have really worked their way into this situation. I mean, into the tag division as it is, coming up from ROH or coming over from ROH, where they were only there for a little bit. I feel like they will get a little bit of time. Like, I don't think this will be a super long match, but I don't think it's going to be a squash either.
I don't think it's going to be a squash, but they can't have too much time because the card's too long.
Yeah,
the card's
unless
too heavy.
Unless this ends up setting up for the Bucks coming back after, right. Perhaps it is a shorter match to do whatever they got to do with the Bucks if they come
I didn't think of the Bucks coming back in the Okada match, so I just assumed sort of think tags, but it might be true that they maybe help their boy instead of getting involved in this. I do see Hurt Syndicate taking this, though.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, I don't think that
titles anytime soon, and they're not going to drop them before.
It'll be close, but it won't quite be. Well, we don't call them squashes anymore. They're enhancement matches. Remember.
Hassan says, "I hope the Outrunners pull off the heist of the century. Could get the crowd on fire. If against any other tag team, I could see it, but the fans chant 'We hurt people.' Like Hurt Syndicate is just as over as the Outrunners are. I think.
I think they're the bigger stars right now, and
I mean, Outrunners are the bigger merch sellers. They're like outselling everybody, but I think
I think the advertisers want the big beefy scary guys that hurt people and not the like nostalgia member berries guys that while I am a huge Outrunners fan. I want the Outrunners to do these things. I don't see them being out of the picture. I think that this is the beginning of something.
No, but if you want to rebuild this tag team division because they were hot potatoing the titles for a bit. Mm-hmm. Private Party has gone into the vortex. We have not seen them. I hope they are not in Guantanamo Bay either, because they didn't do any, as far as I know, unless there's something backstage that I don't know about. They haven't done anything wrong. They were given a shitty title run because they were not putting any effort.
I'm sorry, did you call it Guantanamo Bay?
Oh yeah, haven't you? Yes,
that's amazing.
In WWE, it's Pocatraz. It's Pocatraz. I mean, I don't know that I've heard Guantanamo Bay, or I've only seen it a few times, but Pocatraz is something that is used. Like Dragon Lee had been in Pocatraz for a while.
Because we called it the Connecticut Penitentiary. So
there's that too.
The Connecticut State Pen is what essentially we used to refer to it.
Yes,
but
that also works. But yeah, Private Party, I don't know where they are. But yes, so until we can book until we can book the men's tag team properly and consistently, we don't need a women's tag team title.
We may as well record what we should do is record ourselves saying it so we can just throw that up on there as a video. Is anytime we appreciate the enthusiasm for the women's tag team titles, but we still want to see better booking first.
Hassan says that he thought as a meme for Ray Phoenix.
Makes sense. Oh, good Lord. All right. Where are we? We're right here. I'm going to make sure I know what I'm looking at. Okay. Sam got me a good picture. So we have
a women's match. One of two.
Holy crap.
4 women that are on this card. Happy Women's History Month. We have Mercedes Moné defending her TBS championship against Momo Watanabe. They had one match already. It was a banger, really good. Mercedes got the win. Momo had a really great match last night against Serena Deeb. Momo is really good. I like her a lot.
She's great.
I expect Mercedes loves the style of wrestling. We know that her Joshi opponents tend to bring out the best in her. That's the style she flourishes at. I expect this match to be really, really good. But Mercedes is going to retain.
Yeah, I can't see her. I mean, if she was gonna, it would be to Momo so she could take it around and they could maybe have a rematch on Forbidden Door, but I just don't think that's the match that's happening here. I think this is gonna be continuing.
I think Mercedes.
I think the belt collector thing is gonna go on for a little
while
while
too,
longer.
but if they're doing Mercedes versus Athena at All In,
She needs
gonna
those
be for
titles.
the TBS championship, so that title's not going anywhere.
Yeah.
And I do, and then
that's right. It's for the TBS championship, so it's definitely not going anywhere.
Yeah. So if you missed this part of the conversation earlier in the show, Billy Starks was pulled from an independent show in Chicago for contractual obligations. So it sounds like she will be involved in tonight's show one way or another, whether that's another backstage run-in, maybe she comes out with Momo. Maybe she tries to interfere here. There's a couple, there's several different things that we could do here. So it sounds like Billy will be involved based on that information. And then we had Fernando says that Momo is going to find out is all about the Monet. Make sure you say the correct catchphrase because she will yell at you like she yelled at Renee. She said, "No, Renee, not that one." It's this one. Lady B said, thoughts on some fans hoping this match opens the show. Apparently it's something AEW has never done before. No better. They believe it'll be better received from the crowd early. No, because MJF almost always opens the show. Well, they could do MJF second because MJF, if he's not the main event, MJF likes to be the first, sometimes second match. So they could do that. It would be interesting to start off with that, but Mercedes title matches have typically come later in the pay-per-view. I don't know if that is because that's what she prefers. I mean, because she is their highest paid women's wrestler. So I'm sure Mercedes has a lot of say in certain things. So I don't know if that's why she almost always goes late on the card, but then also Mariah and Tony are probably going to be the penultimate match is my guess. So it would not be a bad idea to open with a hot crowd. Mm-hmm. Momo is somebody that if there are fans who also watch like Strong and stuff like that in the California area, they are familiar with her. So it would not be a bad idea, but MJF almost always opens the show if he's not in a title.
I kind of like I mean, personally, I like that idea, but it's Tony's booking tends towards what Sam is saying, I think. And
yeah.
And the reason also is because since you only have 2 women's matches, maybe spread them out a little.
Yeah, so they could, like, in theory, if they are doing Mercedes, good Lord, Mariah, one of the M names, they're doing Mariah and Tony as like the penultimate match or pretty close to it, then opening, ideally you could bookend a show with women. Like you could have the women open and main event Tony Khan. Just throwing that out there. Like that's a thought. It's something out of the box for you.
Just throwing ideas out there to see
just throwing things at the wall, just trying to shake things up a little bit. LaRon says, how much time do you think this gets? It was the main event of Capital Collision, but I don't see them getting almost 20 minutes of that guy. Mercedes pay-per-view matches have been 15 minutes or more. They've been closer to 17 and 18 other than the one where they had the longest match. The longest women's match in AEW. I see a minimum of 15 minutes because I joke that I think it's in Mercedes' contract that her pay-per-view matches do not go under 15 minutes. Because this is somebody who came from a company where she did get, in most cases, she got time. And so I kind of feel, and the women's pay-per-view matches were not necessarily always getting time before she got here. So I would say a minimum of 15 minutes. Because this is so stacked, they may get it right at 15 or right around it, not including the entrances. Which again would be, you could make an argument for maybe that's why I should open the show. Brad, that's an interesting theory, is that Brad says that maybe the cage match opens. Very possible. Will Camille come back and attack Mercedes?
Not tonight, I don't think.
I don't think so, because I think they're going to set up, because they're setting up Athena and they're planting seeds. I think that Billy gets involved. I mean, I could see Camille, but she's just, if they were going to do that, it should have already happened, because most people have moved on from the Camille Mercedes story, unless they're bringing it back because of the Queen of the Ring and people are like, oh yeah, whatever happened to Camille? Why aren't we talking about her? Perhaps they could go in with that, but I feel like if anybody's going to get involved, it's probably going to be Billy, is my guess. Laurent says that Momo was on the 0 hour at Forbidden Door in a tag match last year. That is correct. Fernando says Okada should open the show. That would be interesting,
especially if the Bucks helped him.
Yeah, that's true. Lady B says NXT does it every week. You can do it, Tony. David says hopefully we have a confrontation between Okada and Ospreay. I don't think they're going to do that anytime soon, because Okada Omega is happening first. I don't think they'll do anything with Omega and Okada and Ospreay yet, just because I think they're going to keep that. That's my theory anyway. Brad says he thinks we're done seeing Camille in AEW. I kind of feel the same way.
I kind of tended to agree with that. I mean,
I feel like, and sometimes when you sign people, it's just not a fit, whether it's from the wrestler itself or the company itself. Because you can look at, like, Malachi or Alistair wanted to peace out like 6 months after he signed. It just wasn't a fit for him. Sometimes it's just not. And then sometimes it's not a fit because of other reasons. So I would not be surprised if we're done with her. Venkin said, I think Billy's going to get a shot at Double or Nothing if that's the next pay-per-view. It's certainly possible. There's been I think there's been some theories of like a 4-way match, but I can't remember which title. No, yes, and Dynasty is the next one. Double or Nothing is Memorial Day weekend. It's Memorial Day weekend in Phoenix this year, because WWE decided they were going to run a show right before. So they moved it this
finally.
Yeah. So I guess we are ready to move on
to the next one.
Let's
get there. I love this graphic.
I love this graphic so much. They put some damn effort into it. So many thoughts about this. I know I've gotten to most of them, but I will recap them for you, for your listening pleasure. I think you all, it's pretty clear we both stand on this. This should be the main event. It is the story you've been telling the longest. We're at 18 months now. They've each won the title in their hometown, which Tony recapped in his, but it was so funny in this media call. The woman's name is Courtney, asks him, will we see women main eventing? It's possible. Then he goes on and recaps their entire feud. And I was like, do you hear yourself? All you're doing is making the case for why it should main event. Like, you are like, and then you have the red carpet segment where Mariah May hits Tony in the face on the red carpet. Tony is like, you ruined my moment. It's a Hollywood ending. We're in LA. We're in the crypto arena. Like, all of this makes sense for why this should finish your show, why it should be a main event. Then,
you're near Hollywood even.
Their segment, that little situation got picked up by a non-wrestling Twitter account.
Yeah, right.
And went viral outside of wrestling Twitter.
Did you see that Tony filed a restraining order against her?
Yes, I did. It was in the Variety article that she did.
I saw it on socials this morning before I came on.
Yeah,
I dipped into socials so that I could retweet. That was
she did an interview with Variety magazine yesterday, and just promoting the movie, talking about acting.
I love her.
And then she did mention Mariah May, that she filed a restraining order against her.
I mean, I'm so glad that when I dipped into socials, that's what I ran into first.
And so,
thanks, Tony. It's always Tony time up in here.
This should absolutely be the main event for so many reasons. I am really frustrated by the fact that you can't get the story into your main event. The next possible match that should main event would be Mercedes and Athena. But if they are doing that match on the same card as Omega Okada, that is what's going to main event. So if these two matches are your best shots for main event matches and you're not doing it, then what match is going to be good enough for you to book them in the main event? And then if for some reason this ends up being a thing like last year with Athena, where they wait till the show starts to announce it, that tells me that you think women cannot sell tickets and that they can't sell pay-per-views, which is a huge problem. And that's on you for not booking the women in a way that you think can't sell tickets, which is insane. And the one tiny little hope that I had, besides this being called a Hollywood ending match, I know this poster is probably saying the grand finale because this match is the grand finale between the two. But when I saw that, I was like, is he playing in our faces? And it really is going to close the show. And that's why it says grand finale. I feel like the reason is just because it's the grand finale between the two. There is like a small smidge that it is. But if for some reason this ends up main eventing, I want to know when that decision was made. Was it made because people on the internet have been losing their minds since that Wrestling Observer tweet last week saying Mox and Cope were main eventing? And then I saw it pick up again with the red carpet thing. I saw multiple people, both men and women, saying this match should main event. So if they main evented, is it because the fans forced your hand and you finally listened to them, or did you make this plan weeks ago and then just decide not to tell anybody? And then why did you do that? Is it because you don't think women can sell tickets? If that's the case.
Which is kind of the same argument we had when they did that with Athena in the first place.
Right.
And they actually ended up banking wrong in that particular case to some degree because, I mean, anecdotally, a lot of people didn't buy it because they were upset.
LaRon didn't buy. LaRon has been very vocal. He didn't buy the Death Before Dishonor pay-per-view last year
because it was the time and they didn't do it.
And then
they did it anyway.
Yeah.
But that's because that's saying that I can't sell tickets on women, but I'm still going to main event them after the tickets are sold. So
yes. Which is what LaRon says, is that he fully thinks that TK thinks this way, that he thinks that women cannot
sell pay-per-views.
But this is also the same conversation we've been having in WWE, because WWE women have not the main women who are on TV, but other women have been frustrated with the way things have been booked. And then the last 2 weeks, kind of in response to that, they've had the women main event the show. Both of them have been title changes, but the women have gone out there and had really good matches. So the fans have been so the women have been delivering. So when you put the women in these spots, like you saw, and he even said, like, at Grand Slam they main evented and it was a fantastic match and he was putting over the match. So they have proven to you that yes, we can carry the show in the main event spot. You can trust us with this spot. So why can't you can't trust them enough to put them on a pay-per-view? And if I remember correctly, women have main evented Rampage, Collision, Dynamite, Dark, and Elevation, and Battle of the Belts, and now Grand Slam. But they have yet to main event a pay-per-view. You've trusted them to main event all of these things, but you don't trust them enough to main event a pay-per-view in 2025 when you have such a strong roster and you have this story to put in that main event. Like, I don't understand at all. And assuming we're going to talk about Mox versus Cope, if there is going to be a title change, it doesn't have to be the main event for it to happen. You can still change titles in the penultimate match. Like, or
I mean,
the
OGs would tell you no, but again, Evolution is what it is. I mean, it's...
If they do, because I know Transferring Heat mentioned it before, and I thought the same thing. If WWE does Evolution 2 before women main event a pay-per-view in AEW, fans are going to lose their minds, and rightfully so. And Tony has to answer for it. And I saw LaRon mention this. Somebody in the scrum tonight needs to ask what it is going to take for the women to main event a pay-per-view.
That I agree with.
What is it going to, and if outside of title matches, why can women not typically get on a pay-per-view unless they are wrestling for a title? Because it doesn't happen very much that they will book women on a pay-per-view unless there's a title involved. When they have stories that do not involve titles.
Well, the obvious answer is because Chris Jericho needs to get a paycheck, but...
Well, clearly you're fighting for Chris Jericho time. Maybe if he goes on a really long
Just my opinion.
But LaRon has even joked, maybe a little seriously, what is it going to take for women to main event? No men being booked on the card, so you're going to have to book an all-women show to get women main eventing your pay-per-views in 2025 in year 6? Like, this is just... And I know we've had this argument a million times, but until Tony does something about it, this argument's going to continue.
Well, it's the problem with the reason the argument is so strong in this case is because they have pumped so much energy and time, and this is a great wrestling angle. This has been a fun story. This is Tony's Storm has been great. Mariah May has been great. People are engaged. They're rooting for them. People aren't getting up during women's matches for these guys. Like, it's...
Yeah. I saw so much over the last probably week and a half, like, just not understanding why they're not main eventing. I did have one mock stan in my comments yelling at me because I suggested, I didn't bother responding to her because A, it's her opinion, and B, she's a huge mock stan and she comments on anything anybody posts about mock. So it's just like, it's not worth dealing with. But she was mad that I even suggested it. She said, absolutely not, in all caps. Said they already got their main event moment at Grand Slam. And that then she was like, and the title's not even going to change. Ma'am, Jon Moxley might not even lose his title. So then then your argument does not work. It does not hold up. It's her opinion.
If you're going to make an argument against the main eventing, you need to make a good argument against them.
Again, it's your opinion. Fine. In my opinion, I think you're wrong. And I say that
as your wrong opinion.
Yes, exactly.
I said it, not Sam.
I say that as a Jon Moxley fan. I love
Jon Moxley. He's the ace of AEW as far as I'm concerned.
Other thing, and Lady B mentioned it as well, and Death Riders is one of the least liked storylines for a majority of the audience. And you're going to close your show with the storyline that people dislike the most?
Well, the biggest story really in wrestling this week was the tanking of numbers for the 18 to 49s or whatever in the boys. And so Death Riders is the main storyline essentially for the boys.
But the thing is, Death Riders it is the main story, but it's not been closing shows lately either. It's been midway.
But that's been the big, the angry analysts this week have been all abuzz about the losses in the key demo, and you would imagine that the Death Riders story would be directly aimed at the key demo, so that means that the key demo doesn't like the Death Riders story.
Right.
That's what the numbers say.
Yes. Yes, it depends on the numbers for their specific.
I'm just I'm talking.
Well, no, I'm just saying the numbers for the segments that they're
actually. We don't get into that stuff except to say
but I'm just saying
that
you would need the numbers for the actual segment as well.
The argument of Mox is doing great and all. It's okay, but empirically, and statistically they're losing fans in one demo that they need, and they're gaining them with old people. And that's not where they need to be gaining. That's not a long-term strategy for any business.
Yeah. Jermaine says, if Timeless Tony wins and retains the title against Mariah, who will Tony's next opponent be? That's a really good thing. I do think Tony wins here. We haven't gotten to that because we were too. I was too busy reading. I think Tony retains. I think I mentioned it last week. Lyric made a really good point after Grand Slam. We need to see who Mariah is outside of Tony. Her entire 18 months has been she wants to be Tony. She took Tony's spot, and she's lost her title. She's lost Tony. Tony doesn't love her anymore. What is Mariah May's motivation now? Who is she when she is not anywhere near Tony? They need to separate them, just like Hangman and Swerve. Put them apart from each other for a while. Who are they without the other? So that does, I'm really curious because there doesn't, as of right now, unless something happens tonight, there doesn't seem to be a clear person that they are going to put in there. I mean, you have people like Willow and Chris who are fan favorites, who have been champions before. You could put them in there. Willow seems to be kind of involved in whatever's happening with Marina. If that actually leads to a damn match. Marina hasn't wrestled since she's been part of Death Riders. There's Megan Bain. I don't think they're going to put her in the title picture yet because I think they're kind of trying to get fans to introduce to her a little bit more. Jamie is out for the foreseeable future until her visa issues get fixed. Apparently, Sheeta is not injured. They just have not been using her. I mean, she has gone back to Japan, but she was apparently backstage at World's End because she lives in Orlando, but she was not on the card. So there's Sheeta. There's Riho if she is cleared. Sky Blue, maybe she comes back. I wouldn't put her in the world title picture now. Julia, I wouldn't put in the world title picture now. So it's kind of unclear who they have where they could go. I feel like I'm forgetting somebody that could potentially be in the spot, but
you listed so many people.
I mean, and I don't think they're going to put they could do Thunder Rosa and Tony. Thunder Rosa. I mean, when Thunder Rosa relinquished her title, Tony was the interim champion.
That goes back to the first Forbidden Door because that was the two women on the Forbidden Door show that ended up.
So they could potentially revisit that. Even though Thunder Rosa's kind of had this story with obviously she was in the Deanna stuff for a while. She's been doing some other things. She actually wrestled on Ring of Honor this week for the first time in 6 years. So it was the first time in the Tony Khan era and the first time since it was in the Sinclair era. So it seems like Thunder Rosa is trying to work on building up other women, which is what she should be doing. So it's really interesting. It's hard to say where they go from here. Maybe like you said, maybe it plays out tonight. Then Lady B says that Tony will say, but Tony and Mariah was the main event in Australia, and someone needs to explain it's not the same. Oh yeah, he straight up said that was the first thing he said was it's possible, and then he said Tony and Mariah had a great main event in Grand Slam.
Which the internet literally broke over the fact that it wasn't a pay-per-view.
Yeah.
Because
Grand Slam is never a pay-per-view.
Right. But
then Tony also did not make that clear when he was asked last November, is Grand Slam a pay-per-view? He didn't say one way or another and didn't confirm it until later, even though they kind of built it as not a pay-per-view. Jermaine says, I have a feeling that we might be getting Mercedes versus Athena early in the first women's match. The main event and pay-per-view will be Timeless Tony and Mercedes, depending on the pay-per-view. That's an interesting theory. You may not be wrong.
That could be fun.
Yeah. Nikki says, and how many main event matches has Moxley had? All of them. Not
most
all of them,
them,
but a lot of them. I mean, he just main evented World's End in the 4-way match for their title.
When Punk's meltdown situation, the Punk event happened, he was the guy that stepped in and took over and carried the first Forbidden Door. Like that thing almost fell on his face. Look, Mox is the ace. He doesn't need to have the belt. He'll be fine.
No.
It's whomever they decide to go with next with that. Like, Mox has gotten all his flowers at this point. Like, we all love you.
He's Megan easily beats Tony. I could see them doing that, especially because of the Stardom stuff.
I mean, with what Tony and Mariah have done, I think now that Tony's like well enough known, she could definitely get Megan Bayne rolling with the crowd, where it's like, pay attention to this lady. She's like, she can use her momentum to propel a new lady forward, who's a talented lady. They just need to have a story.
Yeah.
Whatever that might be, because this is obvious. I mean, this is literally the end. So,
Daza says that Mariah, after winning the title, adopted a really bland glamour persona that was boring until Tony returned. For me, she should carry on with a violent, unhinged character. I could see them being. I could see that
broken Mariah.
Yeah, I could see that being where they go from here. Brad says after Dynamite, Rosa isn't going to be anywhere near the title. She got killed by Megan. That's fair. Lady B, it is I think it's a lot related to who is in charge of our government right now. And WWE has been they did have a handful of visa issues, I believe, a few months ago, but I think it's the timing of when people's visas are due. But that is I think that's a lot to do with it.
When one country pisses another country off, there's going to be a recourse for that, and it's going to manifest in varying ways, and I think that's what we're seeing here.
Yeah,
I think this is politics. I think anything related to a visa at this point is purely about DC, and we don't talk about that on our show.
Talk about other things, but yes. No, I don't. We talked about it earlier a little while ago, Sean. Camille might just be done with AEW in general. Might be some buyer's remorse type situation, or maybe I don't know. I mean, it's certainly possible that she shows up. I wouldn't put her anywhere near a title. She's not ready. She struggled with some of the matches she was given. I feel like she's far away from being in the title picture if they're even gonna bother bringing her back in. I agree with Fernando that this match should be a bloodbath. I would like to see it. Nikki said this is Tony's response. She said that was in response for you to that girl raging at you for saying Tony and Mariah should meet. Yes. Lauren said, isn't it pretty bad that we have 5 or 6 potential challenges for the men's world title, but no obvious challenges for the women's title? Yes, and that goes back to how you book the women's division and being consistent with that when you have the talent that you have. Sean has said that Mox has been the in case of emergency champion. I'm expecting Cope to win, and then Christian cashes in and becomes the AEW champion.
So should we get to that one then?
I think we should, because we've said pretty much all we can say about this.
And it's almost time for the pre-show. So.
Yeah.
Oh wait, we totally forgot about it. And I was gonna say to you, you know what's so funny for me is that you know what sold the pay-per-view? See picture above. See picture
outside of the women. I think both women's matches are going to absolutely kill it.
I do too,
and I think the cage match is going to be really great.
Oh yes,
this pay-per-view looks excellent. I don't think there's going to be a bad match on the card.
No, the pay-per-view looks excellent. When I was putting this slideshow together,
this is the one. Besides the women, this is the one for me that I want.
This right here is the show killer right here.
Yeah,
I mean, I think. Especially, like, is this Kenny's first pay-per-view back? Or is it his second?
We did wrestle Dynasty.
Okay. And he did New Japan with Gabe Kidd.
That
was Wrestle Dynasty.
He did the not pay-per-view in Australia. So yeah, this is his, I think this is his first pay-per-view match, right? Since he's come back, I mean, outside of his first AEW pay-per-view, I should say, outside of doing.
I mean, this is like a huge show for him. And I mean, I actually, when I was like, this, I feel so silly because you saw it when you first said Alpha, and then you were like, oh yeah, but now you're like, oh my God, Don Callis, you are so good at this. Damn you, Don Callis! I love hating you so much.
I do really. I love both men. I'm a huge
oh my God, this is going to be an incredible match.
I love Takeshita. I think Kenny wins this for multiple reasons. I think Kenny needs the title. Well, he doesn't need a title, but I think to kind of take, because we talked about this title's lineage is crazy. Like the amount of the people who have held this title. I think that Takeshita, because of his triple contracts that he has,
I agree with you.
I feel like he's going to Japan for a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
I expect to see him in the G1 again this year, especially after the showing he had last year. He's probably going to do some DDT stuff while he's in Japan. I feel like they are probably going to do Okada Omega title versus title, champion versus champion at All In. Again, Omega Okada 5 does not need it. I would prefer for there not to be a title on the line. I just want to see them beat the hell out of each other.
Oh, yeah.
But I feel like they're doing title versus title at All In when they do this match. And you need Omega to have a little bit of a run with it before we get there. So I feel like this match is going to be a banger. And then, like Kenny said last night, he said, I am not the same Omega you beat twice in a week. I am not the same Omega you have seen. I am a different Kenny Omega, and I want to prove to you that I am the wrestling god that everybody thinks that I am. And I feel like Kenny's going to do that. I think Takesha's going to make it very hard for him. I feel like this will not be an easy win for Kenny, but I feel like we're going to get New Japan level Kenny in this match.
Oh God, yes.
And this match is going to be, like I said the other night, I was talking with Collins and I talked about this pay-per-view a little bit, and she was asking which matches I was looking forward to, and I was talking about this one, and I was like, I might as well just go ahead and open up my match of the year contender list right now and put this on
I'm
there.
just going to write this one down.
It's absolutely going to be, a match of the year contender. I can tell you that without even just looking at the poster. But
these two are on another level, and they're wrestling each other. I mean, this is like up there with Omega Ospreay level types of stuff. I mean, this might be closer to even.
All the spots. Yeah. I feel like Takesha is probably the best that he's been, and Takesha has been good for a while. And I feel like he and Kenny will go to another level.
Well, this might break the internet. I mean, Amazon may not know what they're.
Depending on the situation, you could technically make an argument that this should be the main event just because of the quality of match that it is.
Well, I'll tell you what, when they announced this match, I was like, I'm going to just go buy this pay-per-view now.
Well, and I knew, I
would have watched it anyway, but
I don't know why they did it the way they did with the Revolution series match in between. Like, that was kind of dumb because we knew where this was going. These matches were good, but we knew it was coming.
Maybe to push people along.
We knew where this was going. Brad says that Kenny wins and becomes the Grand Slam champion, World International Tag Trios. He would only have the TNT title left. Ooh, that is true. Awesome. Mike says it's just as awesome to see him back at a high level performing again. So sad when he was injured. Yes, 100% agree with you. I am so glad that Kenny is back. And again, I love Takeshita. Sean says, I get that Kenny hasn't been healthy since his New Japan Championship reign. Yeah, that'll be really interesting to see. Oh, I'm sorry. I think I missed this one. New Japan Kenny is what he should have been since the inception. I agree. And he wasn't healthy for a lot of that, which is insane because if you see what he was doing in New Japan, he was operating at 60 or 75% and was still putting on those quality of matches. So now that he's healthy, I'm ready to see.
Brad, you shut your dirty mouth.
Brad, should I even put this up here since you're putting this in the universe? If this happens, it's Brad's fault. We're going to tell you now. Brad said he has a bad feeling that Mercedes and Momo was going to go on after this match. That's just rude. Nobody should be. I mean, you might as well just put Okada Brody after this match, which is not fair to them. But I mean, that might be one. Is it really? That might be one of the only matches, unless they're doing the cage match next.
Maybe. Back to back Don
I would probably put Okada after Omega. Then don't do that to Mercedes. It's terrible.
All right, let's.
But it sounds like something Tony would do. Hassan said Takeshita has been the champion. Takeshita, the champion, had to go through Orange Cassidy to get a match against Kenny, who was not a champion. The disrespect to Takeshita. Hassan, you're not wrong. And I love Orange Cassidy, and that match was a banger. And I knew that there was no way. I knew Takeshita was winning. I knew this is what the match was going to be. However, as I was talking to a friend, they said Orange Cassidy made them believe like 4 times that he was winning. It was going to face Kenny at Revolution because Orange is that good. Nikki and I talked about this story several times. She and I went to Double or Nothing at Daly's place. It was the first pay-per-view back post-pandemic. And it was a triple threat match. Kenny was doing his belt collector gimmick, and Orange Cassidy, Nikki and I was sitting with the media, and Nikki was sitting with our friend. And Nikki said that there were some guys near them that were absolutely losing their shit because they thought Orange Cassidy was going to beat Kenny for the title. Like, that's how good Orange Cassidy is at making you believe that he has a shot, even when you know. Like, I was like, there's no way Kenny is going to lose this. He's belt collector Kenny. There's no way we're doing Omega Takeshita. There's no way Takeshita's gonna, he's gonna lose to Orange Cassidy. But Orange Cassidy made you think, well, you know what? Maybe they are gonna go a different route.
Orange is the best.
He's so good. I love him. Well, we're glad that we got you hyped for AEW. Because he kind of lost the hype, but the feeling's back. I'm excited. I'm excited for this card. I really am.
Me too. I was putting it together, and I really believe this. This is very much booked like a New Japan show, though, and it is this feels like a really important pay-per-view. I mean, it usually is, but it really feels...
Revolution typically kicks off the year as what we're seeing, because obviously, Wrestle Dynasty was new this year. Grand Slam wasn't happening in February. So Revolution kind of kicked off like where AEW was headed for the year. And I feel like that's part of the reason they stacked this as much as we did. Like, I get too many matches and that's a long time to sit through things. But on the other hand, I feel like this is kind of setting us up.
Well, this is like, here's our new era. We're on WBD now. Like, here we go.
Yeah.
Like, here's the next generation of us.
Yeah. Fernando says, if not Athena, I think Willow should beat Mercedes, and they have already a built-in story already. That would be I would not be mad at that if they weren't going to do Athena. I would not be mad at that at all. Mm-hmm. Fernando says, on paper, this is one of the best pay-per-views AEW has ever produced. Yes. Sean says, member of the Nikki fan club, and of course the Powerbombshells. Thank you. We are glad to have you in our fan club.
We are very grateful for all of you guys hanging out with us.
Yeah, Sean has been a follower of mine and Nikki's for a while, and we appreciate that. Sean always is fun to talk to. So I'm glad that you were able to make it into the chat today.
Yes, thank you very much. All right, we're going to get to the last one so we can get you out of here.
Yes, we really thought we were on the last one.
Just kidding. There's one more match.
Okay, this is probably our main. Unless there's some kind of huge switch.
Remember, guys, we just picked an order and went with it, okay?
We have Jon Moxley
and the Observer
the title
said
against the Rated R Superstar Cope. We have Switchblade Jay White professing on the microphone that he thinks Cope is going to win this. He has decimated, between him, Jay, and Willow, they have decimated the Death Riders so that Mox has to go in here by himself. He doesn't have Claudio. He doesn't have Pac. He doesn't have Marina. He doesn't have Young Wheeler. It's just him. That's what Cope wanted. Mox did not want to give Cope this match for a long time. And now we finally get it. And here we are. And where do you think this goes?
I don't want it to.
Uh-huh.
But part of me does have a weird feeling that Cope could take this match. I think Wheeler Yuta could play a part in, because especially with the handshake thing.
Mm-hmm.
I do think that they will have a good match. I think they need to have something of a match. They need to have wrestling in this match. It cannot be just a mess up.
Can't be House of Torture-esque.
Exactly. That's exactly what I'm afraid of happening here because of some of the things that are outliers. But I think that the reality of a Jay White interference scenario is there. I think that a Wheeler Yuta turn is available. It's one of two things. Either there's some shenanigans that Mox wins and Cope cashes in, maybe, or like they do a quick cash in.
Cash in how though? Because he doesn't have anything.
Yeah, right. So I don't want it to be Cope, but I don't know why I feel like Cope's going to win this.
I think Mox retains.
Okay, good. I'm glad.
Because his entire Death Rider's purpose is to keep wrestling moving forward. He said in the close up with Renee, we are one decision from setting back the wrestling industry 20 years. And he doesn't say what that decision is. I assume it means putting the title on somebody like
an old guy
from the last generation. And he's trying to move the business forward. That's been the entire purpose of the Death Riders, is to mold AEW into his vision, even though we haven't really seen that played out. But I feel like it is going to be a younger, if it's not Eddie Kingston to dethrone him, which I've set up. If you've seen, I've set up why I think Eddie could potentially be the person who defeats Moxley. But if he's not coming till August, that may put a kink in things. There's also been the theory that Darby dethrones him once he gets back from climbing Mount Everest.
Well, this is where I would say that if there's going to be a Jack Perry sighting, I do believe
that was my next. I've mentioned it before. Jack Perry, I think, is going to align with the Death Riders tonight. Mm-hmm. We haven't seen him. The last time we saw him was at the New Japan show in California. He was pissed at the Bucks for abandoning him. He was like, I got tied to my own band by Daniel Garcia, and you guys were nowhere to be found. I lost my title. You were nowhere to be found. You have abandoned me. Okada has abandoned me. Mm-hmm. He was kind of going through some of the Mox talking points. I feel Jack was at Wrestle Dynasty and nobody has seen him since. I think that, especially because they're in LA, they're in his hometown. I think Jack Perry gets involved tonight. I think this is where I don't think it's going to be Yuta that gets involved. It's going to be Jack Perry. Unless Yuta is coming to help, like if Yuta and Jack are aligning to help Moxley.
Part of me thinks that Yuta has like Stockholm syndrome and he's never leaving the Death Riders. So like, no matter how mean they are to him.
I think this handshake made him think. But in the close-up interview, Yuta said he doesn't have time to think anymore. He just does. And he follows Moxley because he is the one true king. So I don't think Yuta really thinks about what he's doing. I do think that Cope probably got to him a little bit, but I think the turn comes later, not tonight.
I mean, I think Mox should retire. It makes sense, but it wouldn't surprise me, I guess, is my... But
he does have Stockholm syndrome and the son of a bee. That is a BTE reference that Nikki and I reference all the time. The Jacksons talking about Stockholm. I need to find that clip. But he does have Stockholm syndrome and the son of a bee. I don't think Christian I know the popular theory is Cope wins and Christian cashes in. But then again, that defeats the purpose of what Mox has been doing. You have another old guy, and I say that with love. I love Christian. And personally, I would rather have Christian as my champion than Copeland. I like Adam. I like Cope. I don't really resonate with this version of Cope. But
what if Mox wins?
And, but I still don't think. But if that rumor is true that Christian is not cashing in as long as Mox is champion, then we don't have to worry about that.
That's right.
Christian's out of the picture for a while until they're ready. I feel like either it's going to be Eddie Kingston dethrones him, or it's going to be one of the young guys. It's going to be a Darby. I know they've already done Orange. You could do Switchblade. I feel like Switchblade is. I don't trust him. I don't trust him in this role with Cope, where he's like, Cope's gonna. I don't trust babyface Jay White. I just don't.
No, there's no such thing.
I don't.
I want them to push. I would much rather see Jay White chasing this title.
He also fears Willow as well. Jay White doesn't want to admit it. I mean, he fears Marina, as he should, but
Willow is a fierce person. She should be feared.
She should be feared. So yeah, I feel like it's gonna be
all right. You've convinced me that Mox is retaining, and I'm gonna stick with that.
I think just for the storyline they're telling with the Death Riders, if Cope wins, I would not be surprised. Just because there's a lot of things they could do with Cope as champion, and Cope he said last night in his thing, this could be my last world championship shot. He's tugging at the heartstrings of us who've watched him for 3 decades, as he should. I don't think he wins it tonight, but he could. But I don't think so. Nikki said, I mean, everybody should fear Willow. I mean, Brody King clearly does.
True.
And then we show the sign that says Mox fears Willow, and then she comes out and delivers a concerto to Marina. We have Don here thinks Edge wins. Christian gives his contract to Jeff Jarrett, and Double J finishes the story. That would be a terrible ending to a pay-per-view, and I would be so pissed off. Even more pissed off than I already am.
I think he's just trying to piss you off.
I think so too. Well done.
I think that was explicitly to piss you off.
Well done, you did it.
I think some people know how to push your buttons, Sam. We love you. Oh, nerd. You guys are the best nerds.
I'm gonna get to some of the theories in the timeline real quick before we wrap this up. Robert says Cope better win or he will become very angry. He will probably become as angry as I almost got just now with that insane scenario. Fred says Cope left Yuta alive like Worm Tongue to get back and help Sauron, which is Moxley.
Brad is very in the Lord of the Rings mode right now, and I totally get it, and I'm very excited for it. And definitely check that channel out. That guy does like history documentaries on Tolkien's world. It's amazing. Nerd of the Rings. But yes.
Sean believes that Cope is merely a tool to get Christian, Tony's favorite wrestler, to the world title, in my opinion. That's a good theory. I forgot about Christian and how much Tony loves him.
And you have to remember how much of a fan Tony ends up being a lot of the times, like to our old detriment.
If we get this far in this damn Death Rider story just to get to Christian being the champion, then what have we been doing this whole time?
Wow. Like,
we gotta have some payoff here. I mean, I guess technically that is the payoff. The last generation beats him, but that's the entire point of this storyline. So that would be an But that is a really good point, and that's not something that you can leave out when you think of who is booking this show. Nikki says they're not done building the Death Rider story. Also, I'm salty as hell over Cope. We don't have to get into all that, so I don't want him to win. Yes, Nikki has her reasons for not liking.
I have opinions.
He said, Sean says that would be a neat accomplishment for Christian. Like, I love Christian. I don't hate. Cope is somebody that kind of go back and forth. Like, he was somebody I was a really big fan of for a while. I kind of cooled off on him a bit. If some things played out in the locker room that end up being true, that also kind of soured him a little bit for me. But I don't dislike him. I don't feel like this is the story to do it. And if Cope wins, I want Christian to cash in on him, and I would rather Christian be champion. Just for me. Sean says you can't trust Switchblade, especially with the Ass Boys and Gun Club. And they've kept them separated, and I wonder if that's on purpose, because since the Gun Club have been back, they've been nowhere near Switchblade. I mean, we haven't seen them since they lost the title, the match against the Hurt Syndicate. But maybe that's why. Maybe they're saving them to get involved tonight. Laurent says, oh, yes, Willow is somebody that everybody should fear. Laurent says, I have a crazy stat for you guys. Last year, AEW had 9 pay-per-views featuring 130 men and 20 women. Sounds right. It is a crazy stat. but a one that is not surprising in the least.
Those are
Somebody should have. I wonder if Chris Harrington knows about that stat. I mean, it probably won't change anything, but since he's their stat guy,
Mookie's the stat guy.
Sean says, "Who would have thought we would be talking about Edge, Christian, and John Cena possibly becoming world champions in 2025, and a heel John Cena at that?"
The world's gone mad.
Laurent says, of the 20 women that have appeared on pay-per-view, 10 of them only appeared once. Also, seems on brand. Don says, Tony's favorite wrestler is probably still his true love, CM Punk. Well, since he can't have CM Punk, Christian is also there. Brad points out Christian never signed that contract. Jay White steals it, signs it, and cashes it in.
Okay.
You know what? I had forgotten that Christian never signed that title because Kip stopped him. That is right. Kip wouldn't before because he wouldn't let Kip be in the Dead Dads Club. He did stop him from signing that, and then Kip eventually worked his way into the patriarchy. Brad, I had forgotten about that. That's very interesting. See, and I wondered how they were going to make this work with Christian because I wasn't sure that they would ever put a title on Christian. Not the world title anyway. Interesting. Is there any interest from fans have from Jay White? Me? I am interested in Jay White as the world champion.
This very exact moment, probably not. But you guys need to give Jay a chance. He has not been you have not been introduced properly to Jay White.
Right. For yes, if you're
as someone who watched Jay White in New Japan for a long time and caught up right at very close to the beginning of when he was not his Young Lion time, but when he was starting to ascend to the next level.
Yes.
They have not even scratched the surface of what they have with Jay White.
Agreed. And so if AEW is your introduction to Jay White, I can absolutely understand why you would not
wouldn't want him as champion.
And as they are currently booking him, no, maybe not. And that stupid storyline they did with MJF was really probably did not help people who have only heard of Jay but have never seen him. I will post that. But yes, so I can understand, Hassan, where you're coming from.
No, totally, because they have not shown you the Jay White that exists.
As a person, and that's not just for Hassan, anybody who has not seen Jay White in New Japan. But as Jay White was my favorite heel when he was in New Japan.
He's the best heel.
I love that guy. I would love to eventually see him as champion. And I know there's Will Ospreay, there's Kenny Omega, there's Takeshita, there's Darby, there's all these people. But I feel like Jay gets left out of that conversation. And then that is in part because of how Tony has booked him.
Yes.
But I think should Jay get that shot, I think that it would be very successful if they could book him better. Don says, is the women's title going on last? Unless they announce it during the show. It's not been made official. But it appears Mox and Cope is
coming for you.
Is the title. Nikki said it so that Kip can eventually steal it for himself.
That would be
well. As Mel knows, Jay White is the master of scouting moves, according to that one guy in MSG. They made a reference to him selling out MSG last week. They hadn't done that in a while, but somebody made a reference to him on commentary.
We had a guy, and I
might have been Ian.
And I've told this story a few times, but for those of you who are new to the program, when I was at Madison Square Garden, the person that we sat near, he was very over for Jay White and continued to tell us that was our champion and don't boo your champion. And all throughout the match because Japanese matches tend to be quieter than the average, so it's very different, but the crowd knew it. And we were watching, and obviously it was like this one guy is like, well scouted, Jay, well scouted, throughout the entirety of the match. And it really enhanced
he was trying to help Jay do his job.
Oh, it was still one of listen, I've been so spoiled, not just with the wrestling I've seen on the TVs, but the in-person wrestling. I don't know. I've just been lucky, and that was an amazeballs match.
Yeah.
I never thought I'd get to see Okada once, let alone the numbers of times I have. That was great. that helped tick off what really is where we are today, because like they could actually say like, look, this kind of wrestling style works here.
Yeah.
And so it was but again, it's with the Jay White stuff, just real to kind of put a pin on that so that we can move on. It's just like, I really hope that Tony starts to show you, give Jay
a lot of it is on his booking, because Jay
is way better than I think that people realize.
Just like Mark Davis is a lot better than Tony's booking has shown. Yeah. And again, Mark missed a lot of time due to injury. Yeah. Jay missed injury time too,
as well. Yep.
But so a lot of it has been their booking. But as far as in ring wise, I think that they.
I think you will find that Jay White's day will come. It's the best.
Hassan says, "Thank you for the stream. Take care, everyone. I have to go buy tea before the cafeteria closes.
Please
go get your tea. Enjoy the pay-per-view tonight. We
Happy Revolution Day. Thanks for checking in. We appreciate it."
Sean says, "To me, it seems like the next in line for title shots are MJF, Hangman, Swerve, and possibly Ricochet if he wins tonight." Yeah, I mean, those are legitimate things. And the way Jay is currently booked, he probably is not in that list for a lot of people, and I totally get it. But if we're going just by, I mean, maybe it's just because I know Mel and I are biased because
we are very biased because we
watch. But I also understand that his booking has not appealed to a lot of people, even fans of Jay White who saw him in New Japan don't like.
I was going to say he didn't. I mean, him winning those titles a couple of times was highly unpopular. Paul just quit New Japan World because of it at one point. But you know, it's. Yeah, my hope is that one day everyone will come back to us, much like Paul did over Wheeler Yuta, and be like, yes. You guys saw what I didn't see.
And yes.
It's okay.
Paul was very anti Wheeler Yuta for a while.
Every time I hear him put him over now, it warms my heart. He did actually admit at one point that we were right. So I will give him he said that Mel and Sam were right, that he would eventually love him and love, because he's such a little brat. He loves what a little brat he is, like, which it's fine too. It's amazing because he is an excellent little shithead.
So we have made it to the end of the card. So before we let you go, what is your match of the night?
It's going to be Kenny and Takeshita by far. Yeah, I mean, the cage match.
I was like, do I even ask this? Because
no, but I mean, the cage match is going to rule. I think this card has it's really stacked. But I just don't see how that's not the match of the night.
I don't even know if you could say a sleeper match because this card is stacked. I mean, maybe Okada Brody might be a little bit of a sleeper. It
might be a sleeper because I think people are
addition. Because I don't think people are sleeping on MJF and Hangman. I would say maybe Brody Okada, because I think because it got added so last minute, there wasn't like a huge build for it. Not that there necessarily needed to be, but I feel like people, because this card is so stacked, I feel like people are overlooking that match. And which understandably so. Yes, Swerve and Ricochet, that's going to be a good one.
I mean, it's not something, believe me, those are two great wrestlers. This is an incredibly stacked card. I don't see that, but they could have a chance where they jump off.
Yeah,
I'm all the way with. I mean, I think Omega is pretty much but that MJF Hangman could be the sleeper, or it could. Yeah. I mean, you could be right. I mean, I like that we don't know. The fact that there's not clear winners, really puts me in a New Japan.
I mean, I do like outside. I would say outside of the women's matches, I think Okada Brody. Takeshita Omega is gonna be match of the night, but I feel like all of I just feel like this card is gonna deliver, and this is gonna be like when we are doing the end of year recap. Revolution is gonna be on a lot of pay-per-view of the year cards, not just for us, but I think just in general. I have a feeling that like we're gonna go back to Revolution, because Revolution was really solid last year. I mean, I am a little biased because I was there. And it was Sting's retirement match, which is why I wore the Sting shirt today. But Revolution was incredible last year too. I mean, every Revolution has been. You and I have talked about that. That was the first pay-per-view Mel and I watched together, or covered together as Powerbombshells. And so it has a special place for us. But it also is the kickoff to the year, really, as far as pay-per-views go. So I'm excited. Sean says Switchblade is in the picture just by his association with Cope, which is fair, but is in the tier of Kyle Fletcher. To me, there are guys who will be the guys in the next 2 to 5 years. Yes. And if you don't make Jay White the guy in 2 to 5 years, you're doing it wrong.
I mean, I think what you just said is straight up. So that's what we're looking at is there's future here. We have the current champion pool, but there's a future champion pool.
Yeah, the
ready
guys
to be
after
booked
those guys,
ready to be booked.
Yeah.
Please book them properly.
All right. Now that we have kept you for a very long time, we appreciate you so much. We're going to let you go. Enjoy Revolution. Come back next week when we talk about the fallout from Revolution and whatever shenanigans play out during the week. Knock on wood, wrestling doesn't wrestling, and we can just talk about the wrestling itself and talk about the good stuff that's happening. And we will be here next Sunday at 1 p.m. Eastern time.
That is right.
And follow us on all of the things.
All the things, all the stuff you saw. If you're watching on the replay, we greatly appreciate it. Remember, if you have the money and you are willing to contribute to our little invite-only networking event that we have been asked to join in with Lo from Wrestling Winedown.
Yes, we've been asked to be a sponsor for this.
All of our super chats until March 17th will be going to that. We have reached our goal, but we would like to reach our stretch goal. So if you guys have $1, drop it in there. If not, we just appreciate you.
We do appreciate you, and we do appreciate you, because clearly we would not be. I mean, I don't know. Mel and I could probably spend 3 hours talking to each other about wrestling, but
we definitely could.
It's more fun when you guys join in, and even if you don't, you're watching on the replays. We appreciate that too.
Absolutely right. Have a great week, everybody.
Bye.